3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Secret Handshake podcast with your hosts, Derek Dutch Oven Holland and Taylor White T. Leach.
In the house.
But I got to say, this is going to be an absolute good one, though, today. We've got a special guest. I don't know if you're excited as I am, but...
I mean, can I just say this real quick? We are coming in pretty hot with the special guest. I mean, this is going to be episode number 6.
That's
and
6.
We're kind of crushing it right now with the guest appearances. I'm pretty excited about this one, too. But sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to brag on us a little bit because we are kind of, doing the thing right now when it comes to podcast officialness.
And it's also, we talked about it in the last episode, and our guest last week was also very excited about this. But for me personally, this person is very important to me. He's like a father, a brother. I mean, we're really close, a great guy, has changed my career for the better in many different ways. He doesn't know that. It's a little surprise entrance for him. I don't think he was expecting that. But this is a former WCW wrestler, a strength coach for the Chicago White Sox, even though he does look puny right now as you guys are watching him on the camera. These are the only shots I can take at him, by the way, because he will be doing rapid fire on me. But I want to introduce you guys to Dale Torborg. Did I say the last name correctly? You damn right I did. He was waiting because he thinks I don't know his name.
Torborg.
But he goes by the Demon, all right? The Demon. WCW Superstar. Legend in my books, no matter what anybody tries to tell me. Again, like I said, father figure, brother to me, super close. This is Dale. And Dale, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to see you.
Dale, we really appreciate you, man.
I don't know if you guys could see on the camera, he's getting a little emotional. His eyes look watery right now.
Just tired.
I touched
a soft
great
spot right there.
area for him of making him become a soft gentleman of, this sounds so awkward, but he got emotional there.
You just said that he just...
It definitely went completely the wrong direction, and it's
Dale,
not what we were trying to do. So
Dale,
I'm sorry,
if you thought
Dale,
you
for
had
making
some good
this very
material to work with before the podcast started, that was just gold right there that he just laced you up with. He just said he touched you in a soft spot that caused you to turn into a soft gentleman. That was
it's an uncomfortable thing, and that's not where I was heading. I was just saying I saw the emotional side. His left eye right now has a little bit of water going on. I'm going to call it some eye juice.
The best part about this whole thing, I wasn't even listening to what you were saying. I was just waiting for the intro. I don't know what you said.
See, that's normal. That's what I deal with.
Unfortunately, I have to as part of this co-host thing. But real quick, I kind of want to just kick this off, Dale, because I think this sets the tone kind of for post introduction. But I want to know how you and Derek originally met, and how you guys came to know each other, and where like the friendship, kind of the bond started. What do you guys have in common? That kind of stuff. But where'd you guys originally meet?
The original meeting was with AJ Brzezinski. When AJ was with Texas, I was living with AJ in Surprise. And we went out to dinner, I think, one night, and AJ said, I'm going to bring a buddy of mine with me, and it was you.
Don't try to cover it up. It wasn't dinner. We went out for some drinks.
Well,
some adult beverages here.
I don't drink, so I don't remember that part. I mean, I think I had
'Cause
water or some lemonade or something.
This was our Uber driver right here.
That's right.
He took care of
so
us.
that was the first time, and we got to know each other a little bit just through AJ, and then I was really pumped up when I heard that we had signed him. And that's when we really started to get to know each other, was in the weight room, where the two of us just hanging out and, doing every morning. He would come in and, I will rip him through a lot of this, but, what people don't realize is how hard a worker he actually is. And that was one of the things that struck me right away, is this guy is serious. He's a competitor. And, it was great to have someone like that come in the weight room and ready to go every morning. And then the humorous side is that about him. I started to learn about that. And then Tommy Canley with, the whole wrestling stuff, and, the whole wrestling connection really kicked in. And we got to kind of mess around, and I tried to teach him a few things, and he wasn't very good, so I just had to hit him.
See, there it is. There's shot number one. We're going to have a shot clock here.
Yeah, we will have the shot clock.
There's one. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's one.
but Dale, so let's go back because a lot of our listeners are baseball fans, but a lot of them aren't. So when you said you signed him with the team, you were with the White Sox at the time, I'm assuming. And for those non-baseball fans, AJ Pierzynski is a baseball player. But so you've been in baseball for how long now, Dale?
16 years with the White Sox. I was with the Marlins before that. A couple years in the big leagues as a strength coach with the Marlins and the Expos before that. But I actually played. I was in the minor leagues. I went to Northwestern, to give a little background of my history in baseball. And I'll probably be touching questions that you would ask anyway about. But
Sure
I came
thing.
from a baseball family with my dad, Jeff Torborg. Was a player. He was he actually caught Nolan Ryan's first no-hitter, Sandy Koufax's perfect game, and Bill Singer's no-hitter. So,
Wait. Hey, T, there's a lot of names being dropped right now. We got to catch those.
You better bring a bucket. You better bring a bucket because there's going to be a lot more than that.
Everybody saddle up.
where
This
that
one's going to
came
be
up.
one hell of a ride right here.
Yeah, here we go. So if you want to start catching, go get a glove or a bucket because they're coming. So just
Dale's
be ready
got
for
a
it.
full pipeline of names on deck ready to go. He knows how
yeah.
this show works.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
right.
good. This is good though. But it's awesome though. That's really cool though, what we're hearing. Obviously,
I know this is your show, but you're going to keep
not to
interrupting
make
me?
fun of those moments. Those are really notable
forget about
things.
the guest. Let's forget about the guest. Let's just you and I talk. Right? Like forget about what he was
Sounds
talking about.
good. Yeah, Derek. So how was the game today? How'd you pitch?
It was outstanding.
Yeah,
it was against the White
tell how
Sox.
you pitched.
Didn't go exactly as planned. It actually wasn't that bad. I mean, I gave up a few hits, nothing hard, but you know what? We had a great game. But back to you, Dale, with sports.
Now come back to me. You sure you don't want to keep
you
talking
like that
about how your
pivot?
game went today?
We're actually here to listen to you.
Oh, really?
No more talking about me and my game.
Are you sure? Because that's
It's-
not how it was just a minute ago when you cut me off.
So as I was saying, how about
this
the
isn't
new
wrestling
theme
where
park
you
that's
cut-
being
you
built
know,
somewhere?
You just
Right.
irate
Okay.
me right here.
So Dale, you not to interrupt, guys, not to interrupt, but Dale, you were basically at the point you grew up in a baseball family. Your dad was a player, and then I think that's where we started catching the names because that's where he was working with all those awesome people like Nolan Ryan.
Nolan and Sandy Koufax, and I think you said somebody else, right?
Bill Singer.
Yeah.
And Nolan should have one more. When you talk to my dad, there was against the Yankees, Thurman Munson hit a pop-up in the first inning, and the shortstop and the second baseman let a ball drop, pop-up drop in the infield. They called it a hit, and that was the only hit for the game. So Nolan should have 8.
That's
Wow.
so crazy. You know how many one hitters he had though?
Yeah, I know
There's,
it's a lot.
it's an abs. I'm just throwing out a number because I don't really know, but it's like I'm over exaggerating, probably like 20. Like there's a crap load of them.
So you don't do your research before.
No, I
you
didn't.
show.
Yeah, that
definitely
was
did
like a
not do any
totally made up
research.
statistic. He even teed it up with.
I just told you that.
I was ready for the information. I was like, oh wow, we're about to get some baseball knowledge right here. Not so much.
Not so fast, my friend.
Not so much.
Not so fast.
Not so much. But to get back to that, literally, so I came from a baseball background, went to Northwestern, played there, and then started playing pro ball from that point before I ended up getting into wrestling and got drilled in the face with a pitch my first year in pro ball, which messed up my depth perception, didn't know it, and I was struggling, to see actual changeups because I fastballs I could judge off the arm, but changeups you have to judge it with your eyesight because it's the same arm speed. He could talk more about that, but I was struggling with changeups, and it just my average started dropping after getting hit in the face. Wasn't pleasant.
That's a scary thing.
Do
obviously, to
you
hit in the
remember that
face.
moment?
Did you lose any teeth?
It was like that exact moment of getting hit, or were you knocked out when that happened, or what happened?
No, actually, it's on. You can find it on the internet because VH1 aired it. VH1 did this documentary, this Kiss documentary that I was on called Fan Club, and they actually used that footage. My dad was filming. He had an off day and was able to come to Elizabethton, Tennessee. I was with the Kingsport Mets at the time, and the guy, it was actually one of AJ's teammates. That did it, AJ Pierzynski's teammates. That then that's kind of a crazy long story. That when AJ first Pierzynski, that is, when AJ first came to the White Sox, AJ and I were talking after a couple weeks of being, just around each other, and he asked me about the player that hit me in the face. And I had said something. I go, how did you know? And he goes, I was with the Twins. He goes, he was a teammate of mine. And I had actually, when I started wrestling, I saw that I was training at the White Sox facility in Sarasota, and they let me lift there. And a bus pulled in, and I said, tell me that's the Twins. Because I hadn't seen the guy in years. He never apologized, never came when he hit me in the face. God. And so I ended up confronting him years later, okay? I went and told a teammate of mine in Northwestern, I see him get off the bus. And I said, Brad, come here for me. I need to talk to this guy. Is he on your team? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I go, tell him I want to see him. And he wouldn't come around the fence. So he and another guy walked in the bullpen with the fence in front of me, and I confronted him. Well, AJ, when he's talking to me about it years later, I go, how did you know all this? He goes, I was there. The other guy was AJ when I confronted him.
Wow. That's crazy.
All those years later, that was AJ and the guy that
that's about as
full
circle as it gets right there.
Yeah, and if you know AJ, I was surprised that he didn't say something back then.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to ask you did he even make a comment? But I mean, it's obviously so long ago. And even then, like after he brought it back up again, did he ever say anything to you about it? Like bringing up the fact that he was there and he wanted to say something? Like, was there any encouragement?
No, I think he knew.
Or why he was there. Why did he bring him?
Because
did he think you were about to jump, fight him?
I don't know, but I don't know if he had a bullpen or it was in the bullpen. So I don't know if, here's his catcher. But it's funny. I didn't know AJ back then, and I think he knew I was pretty angry. I think 2 or 3 years of me waiting for this guy to finally see him.
See, I still can't get over the fact that he hit you. You got hit.
No apology.
Yeah, that's what blows my mind. Like
that's super crazy.
Like for instance, yesterday, it happened yesterday. Bumgarner hit Bodie, whatever his name is, from the Cubs. Mm-hmm. And he was right there to make sure he was okay. And this guy couldn't even he stood on the mound with his arms crossed.
Wow. Yeah, so that's why I waited for him and looked for him for years. And I found him.
He found him, everybody.
I found him.
He didn't do anything to him. He just went up to him and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. You hit me, and I just wanted to make sure everything's okay. See ya."
No, but
that's how you talk
back then.
That's exactly how you talk.
Dale, what was that moment like, though, in terms of the initial confrontation? Like, what did you say, and what was his response like? Like, was there an apology, or what was like the final outcome of that?
Yeah, you didn't give us a true outcome. You just told us that AJ was there.
Yeah, I said, I go, do you know who I am? And he said, yes. And I said, do you have anything to say to me? And he goes, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to hit you back then. You had done really well because I gotten 3 hits the night before. Then we at our place, and don't say it. Just keep your mouth shut. Just zip. When you were starting to.
I would just want to know if you think it was intentional.
No, from what he said, it wasn't. He said the pitching coach, I stood on the plate. So I never charged.
So he wanted to brush you off.
And I never did anything if somebody hit me from the shoulder down. And, it's like, okay, I understand you're trying to get me off the plate. But, at that point, he said that they told us, we got to pitch you in and pitch this guy in. Well, he didn't have very good control. He threw really hard, but didn't have good control.
So how hard is that back then? Is that like 88? I forget.
Back then.
Back when, the double days were making baseball and everything, putting it all together. You were back then.
Like an old comment?
Yeah, not at all.
Oh, no, really?
Not at all.
That was definitely an age reference right there,
yeah.
Dale. Don't let him talk to you like that, man. Don't let him talk to you like that.
We'll see what happens after this is over.
I might not have a table.
I already told him there's a window right behind us, and he might go through it.
Weapons.
So that bottom line is, he said, I did not mean to hit you. We were told to throw in, brush you off the plate, and then go away. And he said, I threw it, and it got away from me. I said, well, next time you do something like that, the right thing to do is you go up and say, apologize, or send a message while I'm in the hospital getting a CAT scan. And I thought my nose, my face was so swollen, I thought my nose was broken. I was looking in the mirror trying to break my nose back myself, pop it back. The nurse was like, "What are you doing?"
I couldn't do it.
And I said, "I'm trying to put my nose back in place." She goes, "It's not broken. Your face is swollen. It's pushing it to the side." It's like, well, it might be broken now. You might want to X-ray it.
God.
Yeah, so that, that was the story. And then, so that was in 2005. I think, 05 was AJ's first year when we won the World Series that year. But that was
his first year?
Spring training, yeah. AJ was a huge part of that, man.
No, I know that. Yeah. I just feel like he was, for some reason, I thought he was like earlier, like at least 2002.
No, because
it's got to be nice to win a World Series.
And he came in 05.
Year.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah. It'd be nice to do that. It was my second year that we got to go, though.
Yeah.
Just toot my own horn.
Yeah. I think, Dale, just so you know, I think we've had a Derek Holland World Series reference in the last 3 out of 6 episodes. So we're
it's actually like 5 out of the last 6
right now.
How many World Series rings do you have?
I wish I could say the same about you, but I can't because I know you got one. You got 2?
Yeah, I got 2. So just wondering.
Who was your first?
Oh, I can't remember. I'm so old.
I know that happens sometimes.
Marlins.
Wow. So you were there with Pudge.
Pudge, yeah. I was with, that was 03. I was there in 02 and 03.
Was Bobby Bonilla still around at that time?
No.
No, he was done.
He was he 97? I think he was part of that 97. Was he the 97 World Series team?
Yeah, I want to say he was.
I think.
With Jeff Conine and those guys?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, that's, fun fact, though. Edgar Renteria, when he's with the Marlins, I think he was...
do you do any research for your shows?
No.
Do you do any baseball research?
Fun fact.
It was about him because
he makes you do the research, doesn't he?
100%.
He doesn't do any.
You see the show notes page right there? He didn't do anything with that.
I didn't. I actually, I don't think I've done any of them. I'm just the guy
I can believe that.
I can actually do the conversations.
I can definitely believe that.
I help out there. I talk.
Aren't you glad you had me on here?
So is the show over yet? Like, how much longer do we have on this
show
thing?
ever.
Shortest episode. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Okay, go.
Stay tuned for next week.
Let's hear your fun fact and then go to the next question.
I'm trying to think of when it was, but he did something in both World Series, the one with the Marlins and then with the Gigantes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I heard podcasts
MVP.
being clicked off all around the country when you were trying to find that fact out.
Wow. Man, this is beautiful. It's great to see you guys having this interaction. It's like, this is
just like old times. Just like old times.
Well, honestly,
I've
Dale,
been saving this up.
Dale, it just makes me feel better about him being out in Arizona without me because there's someone to fill that void for him right now with me being here in Dallas. So,
I like
Derek, I'm glad you're in good hands.
Yep, just like with Allstate.
Yeah,
That's my dad joke right there.
He's actually starting to cry.
I have shed a few tears now, thanks to him. Hold on, I'm about to pour the water on my face and just let it run wild.
The whipping post. Okay, so, all right, back on topic here. So, you played ball, you end up getting hit, having that injury. You go.
Wait, hold on. So continue with that though. So you said, and we snuck it in. I don't know if they heard it. So you didn't lose any teeth at all.
Actually, these 3 are still numb to this day. That was in '94.
Still numb.
Numb because
must be like nerve
wow.
damage.
Nerve damage because for the longest time I couldn't feel my nose. So when it
hit you like right here.
It rolled all the way to first. Best bunt I had all year.
He really got the head out, everybody.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
but
Bazinga.
It hit here, broke my cheekbone. I could feel the air coming. I could breathe
the air?
Man,
Yeah, because it
terrible.
broke my cheekbone through there.
Oh my God.
So I spit.
terrible.
I mean, literally, my sinuses hurt. When I stood up, I checked my teeth because I thought it hit me in the mouth. You know, that impact, you're not sure exactly where it hit you. So I thought it hit me in the mouth, checked my teeth, started to get up, and my trainer, you know, the minor leagues, the dugouts are super close. He was pulling my jersey down, stay down, stay down. I said, why? And when I said why, there was blood. And I go, oh, man.
Oh, man.
And my sinuses got literally painful for a second. And you know how you kind of do that? filled my mouth with blood, and I spit it and all over home plate, covered home plate.
Wow.
The umpire he turned around and almost
really
threw
good.
up. Yeah. So that, luckily, it just hit up here, but it did nerve damage here. And I have a tendency to do this because for years it felt like there was a hair of the
Something always
because of the nerves trying to come back.
Oh my God,
Man, that's actually kind of. I'm sorry.
I'll take it.
I interrupted you.
Thank you. Did that cause anything with like headaches? Some people get the concussion. Well, actually, did you even get a concussion from it?
No, it did not. So I never lost consciousness.
It's crazy that you weren't out cold on the spot, man. I mean, I actually, when I was playing in college, we had an inter squad game that we were doing for practice. I was catching, and then our other catcher, he was up to bat. He got drilled in the head, and it actually hit him just right below the ear. He had a batting helmet on, but the second that thing hit him, he dropped to the ground and instantly started convulsing, like having a seizure. Like the second that it happened, it's amazing that obviously the nerve damage sucks, but for you to stay conscious the whole time, I mean, that's pretty, I don't know if that's adrenaline or what you had going on there, but that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I know I'm hard headed, as you know, but
Yep.
Yeah, we go there.
We'll be talking about that soon too, by the way. We got some great stories to that. I just can't get over the fact that you one, you didn't get concussion, like he said, and two, you didn't lose any teeth, especially to be hit in that part of the face and to have it bounce off and go down to first. Now, this isn't meant to be an old joke, but the helmets compared to now, there's not much padding back then.
It didn't hit me in the helmet.
Well, I know, but I'm saying, oh, wait, you guys have the flap down, though, is what I'm saying.
Man.
Don't you guys have, the earpiece right there?
Yeah. But it
didn't hit here.
Yeah, still not.
He threw it behind me. So when he threw it behind me.
You opened up to it then.
I had an open stance, but when he threw it behind me, instead of turning into it, I went back.
Okay. See, that's why I'm talking about the helmet. That's why I was saying, because it's, to me, to get hit here, you had to have kind of opened up, but now it makes sense that you leaned back and it caught you there in the face.
Now I want to ask you a question.
Oh, boy.
No, seriously, as a pitcher, what are your thoughts on the new face masks that the guys are wearing to go along with different padding? Do you feel as a pitcher, do you pitch different?
No, I always do the same. You know me as a pitcher too. I love pitching inside. I don't feel, when I see an elbow pad or anything like that, I actually go farther in because of that. Because it's you telling me you're trying to protect that area so you don't get hit. So there's that fear kind of, I guess, inside. So I like to go in, especially with guys that have the ankle thing. I want to go down and in so when you foul it off, it's going to hit that spot. It's like a sign of, I don't want to say a weakness, but to me, I know it's protecting and all that stuff. But when I see it, it's just, that's where I want to go. I want to get as close as I can to it. Now, if you have the face thing, you're talking about, for instance, Stanton has one. I totally love the fact that they got that because some guys, when they throw, for instance, if it's a right on right, right-hander throwing to a right-handed batter, you throw a slider and you got a fastball. Well, they come out the same. So when you're standing there and as a hitter too, you stay locked into it and you're waiting for that break. And half the time you don't have enough time to react quick enough to get out of the way because it didn't break. It ended up being either a fastball or it was just a backup slider. So I'm okay with the face guard because there's obviously, like you said, we've been talking about, you see guys get hit and I mean, it's an accident. It's not like anybody's ever going for somebody's head that I recall. I mean, there's times, I know, I get it. There's people that they go out there, I guess, and they go after them for their head hunting, I guess you could say. But, if you look at old school baseball and the way baseball is now, which I don't want to dive too much into it, but the game's changed to where back then, a prime example, Nolan Ryan, you get in the box the wrong way and you kind of show him up. You better believe there's a ball coming by your ear hole.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas now we can't do that.
Well, my dad would tell a story about how tough Koufax was. And Drysdale, really Drysdale. Drysdale was feared that one of the guys dug a spot in.
Yep.
A big time guy. Dug it out. That was his whole thing. One of the biggest stars in the game.
Can I share one thing real quick?
What's that?
For those that can't quite see, he's actually digging on my tile floors right now to put his foot in the box. He does, and this is, But that's unique. That's what makes
That's right.
Dean
You gotta
great.
sell it.
I'm unique.
But he's definitely doing the stuff.
So he dug it out, looked and saw who it was on the mound, called timeout, filled the hole back in, and then got back in the box, and Drysdale still hit him. Because it was back in the day that you don't do that. In my dad's time, he would say, literally, if one of ours goes down, two of yours go down. That was how it was back in the day.
It's true. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So I was just wondering with all the gear and all that stuff, how you would pitch. But I know I'm going off topic, but as a player, I always wondered, if somebody fouled a ball off their foot, why don't pitchers go back in there? Because as a hitter, I used to hate it because I was like, oh, I don't want that again because your foot's still killing you.
So there's
Right, exactly.
So to that, but to that, there's I know one guy that stood out. I can't play with the Royals. Do you remember the guy that did like this crazy thing with the bat?
Talking about Gary Sheffield.
No. I would have been going this way. He just like spun it like kind of like a helicopter right before every pitch.
It sounds familiar.
I can't think of his freaking name right now,
Yeah,
but
I know what you're talking about.
He was a guy that I would pitch in, and if he fouled it off, like you said, he would sell it. And then I would do what you just said. I got this guy. I'm going right back in there again. And I like that. I like to double take in there after you take a hack like that and you foul it off your body. I'm going right back there because I want you either hit yourself again with it, or maybe this time you're going to take it and I got to strike.
Yeah.
But he would do that, and he did it to me twice.
So he set you up.
Set me up. And the first time he got me, and he ended up probably hit a bomb for all I know, because I give up a lot of home runs.
That's okay.
And the next time he did it, he sold it again. And I was like, all right, I remember you fucker. And I threw him a slider, struck him out. So there's a different way, but I agree with you big time. I think anytime that somebody gets a foul ball off of an area and they're taking 6 hours hopping around because they're hurting and all that, I'm all for going right back in there. But everybody that I face, they know I'm pitching in. I'm coming inside. Everybody knows that. That sounds so bad.
And on to the next topic. No.
But back to what you were saying though. It's the elbow guards, the face guard, the helmets is really. It doesn't bother me, but I think the helmet thing.
This is a good one. So after I got drilled in the face, I'm in Kingsport. They're terrible little cages that you have, and we actually played. Old. This is what you would like to say.
That's what I was waiting for, everybody.
Yeah, see, I beat him to it.
I wish we could get something that just scrolls across. He's old as fuck.
Wow. He might die after this.
It's possible. I won't be there to save him.
It was Kingsport, Tennessee, by my first year, coming from Northwestern, playing in the Big Ten. It wasn't a real stadium in the minor leagues. When I got there, I couldn't believe what I saw. It was an actual football field that they converted for baseball that had a snow fence in left field.
That's that orange fence, right? The construction fence or whatever.
A snow fence in left. They had a flagpole in center field, not behind center field, in the playing surface.
So like Houston, how Houston was.
Yeah, but
except for the hill,
little bit, basically a little to the left of where the guy would set up.
So it was like middle of center field.
In the middle of center field where you had to
deep.
They would have to run around it. It was the most bizarre thing I've seen. And that's what I came to. Literally came in and that was the deal. But so they had these terrible cages, back in some minor leagues in 1994, terrible cages. But after I'd gotten drilled in the face, they said, listen, my face was swollen. I was.
How long did it last too, by the way? The swollen face, yeah.
A month. It lasted. My lip wouldn't come back. My lip was droopy. And they said, you can't play until it goes, until all that swelling goes. But you can hit as long as you wear it. And they gave me this, looked like a football helmet. But it was
cage.
It was a plastic mask, clear plastic. And I'm like, all I'm going to do is take flips. I don't need to. They said, you either wear it or you don't hit. Fine. The first ball I hit a pole and shot back and squared up the mask and left the seam marks on the plastic.
What are the odds of that? Aren't you glad you listened to that advice?
I was like, oh my God. Yeah, that was the first swing back.
And I was literally about to make a comment saying, like, what is that really going to stop? Because those the plastic thing.
Right.
Here it is. Now we know it actually stopped it from really messing up your face. That could have. So what?
You know what's
let's say it
crazy
did, and I don't
is-
mean it like that.
Well, sorry, I just want to throw this tidbit in there. It's kind of
Yeah, go
crazy
ahead.
that he's actually our second guest who's taken a fastball off the face. Delino had that same thing happen to him in the minors, and his entire face looked like a balloon,
Yeah,
basically.
it looked like he had a football attached
went
to
off
him.
in his face. But just special little moment. It's our second guy to have experienced that on the show. Maybe that becomes a common thing. for
Common
us.
thing that we get guys that get their faces
two out
messed
of
up.
6 so far.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, we're doing pretty good there. But it's.
If you
Right.
keep it up,
I'm going to have mine, so I'll be the next guest.
You'll be wearing a mask.
I'll have my mask on the next podcast, so I don't hit the mic.
Yeah, there we go.
But it's like, well, now I kind of lost my train of thought with that when we were talking about the mask.
It's okay. You were about to make up another fact, so I think it's all good.
Yeah. We got Captain Fun Fact over here that just making them up.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to like dip off the topic too soon, but I wanted to ask, because I feel like we're right in the timeline of your story, Dale, is you get hit with that ball at that point. I guess you said that started affecting your depth perception, which ultimately ends your baseball career from a player standpoint. And is that when you transition into wrestling? Like, or are we not there yet?
Not quite. Real close. I mean, I was with the Mets when that happened. I got traded in the middle of a series from the Mets to the Yankees. I was in the Florida State League. So I was with St. Lucie Mets. Got
What would that
traded.
be for the people that don't know? What would that be? Would that be like short season?
No,
not short
high
season.
A.
Sorry. Oh, that's high. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
high A. So got traded there, and I didn't know. I went a full year after getting hit in the face. Full year without knowing that I had a depth perception problem. It wasn't until I got traded to the Yankees, played that season, my average was just dropping and didn't know why. I just thought I wasn't very good. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, I've hit my ceiling. I'm not very good. I'm pretty much done. It wasn't until spring training of '96 with the Yankees that I missed, I think, the last 3 on the depth perception little chart that they give you, and it's like fuzzy dots.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember that? So,
yeah, they still do that, actually.
Yeah, so I was looking at it, and I said, there's none on the last 3. And the guy goes, look at it again. And I said, I still don't see it. And he goes, look at it hard. And I kind of saw one. Yeah, there's one on each one. I'm like, I don't see it. And he goes, hey, let's bring you over here. And they put some dye in my eye, and they did some testing. And they said, you have almost zero depth perception in your left eye. And I said, is that bad? I said, it's about as bad as you can get for baseball.
Is that bad?
Yeah,
Like,
is this really going to end it? So, I kept trying to play, but it just didn't. It wasn't in the cards. And I honestly have said for years that I think everything that happened, it happened for a reason. I don't look back and go, oh, I wish this didn't happen. I mean, I have broken when I was playing, a guy threw a ball in the runner. I snapped my bicep, the humerus, in half. I've had all different injuries, but I think it all came to the one time in my life. I just did a speech at Northwestern about a month ago, and I was trying to explain how my life changed and how at times you could be going one way, and then boom, it just completely turns. And that happened. For me, I was going out to the Rose Bowl to see my college roommate, Jeff Shine, was on the football team. So I'm actually going out to the Rose Bowl, and on the flight from Tampa to LA, I look over, I'm getting my ticket, and there's Hulk Hogan. And we end up on the same flight. And
hold on, I have to stop you. Because this is actually
crazy,
something
right?
that he knows. Yeah, this is what I was telling you before. Actually, you go ahead because you have the story yourself. So give him just a quick.
It's just funny because our last guest that we had on the show, which you'll see go up tomorrow, is Rami Rosas. And Rami's a diehard. There's a lot of cool things about him, but he's a diehard WWE fan. And long story short, I made his childhood dream come true of meeting Hulk Hogan in person in Dallas when Hulk was in town, because I'm good friends with Nick, his son. And so I had set it up for this to happen. But it's just funny that like we're talking about Hulk on the last episode, and then you hear yourself have your own tie-in to Hulk as well, which it just makes it's super interesting from a synergy perspective.
Oh, absolutely.
But
he's the icon of icons. I've said it for forever. I mean, I know The Rock, is enormous and he's done amazing things. But to me, people have asked, who is pro wrestling? And it obviously depends on the era. Some will say Stone Cold Steve Austin. Some will say The Rock. But to me, Hulk Hogan is wrestling.
Hulkamania.
I would argue with you to say the Nature Boy as well. To me, that's another. But I strongly agree with you because to me, both of those guys, you name a name, you bring up Ric Flair or Hollywood, Hulk Hogan, guaranteed everybody knows who it is.
Yeah, but I think the difference though in what you're saying, Derek, is that Hulk to me is someone that like the entire world would know, regardless of being a wrestling fan.
He transcends wrestling to me.
No, I agree. Yeah.
He transcends wrestling. He is, you have some of the most famous people on the planet. You name some of the different people and their most famous people, Madonna, people know who it is. I mean, Gene Simmons. There's certain people that pretty much everyone knows. They might not be a Kiss fan. They might not be a music fan or a wrestling fan. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah, he's like a true icon.
A pop culture icon. That's what I'm saying. I think he transcends wrestling, because to me, and maybe it's the era that I grew up, but he is pro wrestling. End of story for me.
I would agree.
Yeah. So
especially for a guy. Okay, for instance, he's not as big into wrestling as you and I are.
Right.
And for him, he could easily sit and like you just said, I know exactly who Hulk Hogan is. Now, granted, he does know who Ric Flair is, but at the same time, Hulk Hogan does stand out.
Right. If I'm making a comparison, though, I feel like the mainstream consumer that is not a WWE fan, like just like Dale said, he transcends the sport and like he is a worldwide icon, which not taking anything away from Ric Flair, but I don't think if you put him head to head, I think, like you said, he's an icon, man. He's up there. Like it's almost like if you had an icons of our time kind of thing, he'd be listed up there, just like Dale said, with the Madonnas, the Michael Jacksons, the Michael Jordans. Like he's kind of one of those people.
I agree. By the way, happy 70th birthday today to Ric Flair.
That's true. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So that is a little hashtag happy birthday, Ric Flair, Nature Boy.
Didn't they do the surprise birthday thing yesterday?
I guess so, but I thought it was today that it was actually birthday. I don't know.
Yeah, but they did the party or whatever.
The party thing. But I agree with you. But I think when I said The Rock too, he is, he transcends wrestling, but a lot of people know him just from movies and TV.
Right.
Now, whereas Hulk is still, name a wrestler. Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan's definitely going to be the first. Well, he's at least one of the top three, I think, that gets named.
Yeah, and I agree. And I'm not taking anything. Ric Flair is one of the most amazing wrestlers on the planet. So I'm just saying, I just really am a firm believer that Hulk transcends wrestling. He's a pop culture icon, wrestling icon, and I'll tell you what, awesome guy on top of it. I mean, when I met him, we started talking about the Yankees. He was friends with George Steinbrenner. That's how we started talking.
So you guys were on the same plane, though, is what it was?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Same plane out to LA. And he just was a good guy. Like there was no ego with him. It wasn't like, yeah, whatever. He was interested to talk and just a good guy. Well, when we landed, he was picking up Randy Savage. And LAX. So he introduces me to Randy. And the thing that got me is Randy, when Hulk introduces me, he goes, Torborg, is your dad Jeff? And I went, oh my God, that's his real voice. I was shocked that I always thought that was a put on voice. I'm like, man, that's his real voice. And so we start talking. So Randy was a fan of my dad's because Randy was a catcher in the minor leagues.
I think for the Reds. No idea.
Randy Poffo. And so if you look it up, I mean, he played. He was a catcher, and he told me. So Randy told me this. He was telling me, I said, how'd you like playing in the minor leagues? And he said, I loved it. And he told me how he goes, I was an all or nothing player. I either hit one out or struck out. He goes, but I blew out my arm. This is coming from him. I can't confirm the story, but he told me.
Oh, you didn't do your research?
Well, this is something I can't research. Just sit over there.
His stories so far are a lot more put together than yours, Derek. Ease up.
Yeah,
Ease
I
up,
didn't even
buddy.
tell a story.
See, he keeps interrupting. I'm going to unplug his mic in a second. So Randy tells me that he blew out his arm as a catcher and thought he was finished. He actually threw. So to give you a little background, his dad, one of the most intense human beings, Angelo Poffo, set the sit-ups record for 6,033 sit-ups in over 4 hours straight. And you can look that up. Look it up. Anyone
That's a
who
real
wants to.
fun fact right there
Yes.
from Dale.
So you can understand where Randy got his intensity from. Randy he told me he threw 1,500 balls a day left-handed in the offseason to come back as a left-handed first baseman. Think about that.
That's incredible, to
That
be
is
honest.
some
That's,
serious
I'm not sure who's
determination and
counting
focus.
1,500 balls a day, but,
But I mean, he took the time to throw every single day with the opposite hand to get
Yes.
things to where he wants to
he
be.
could, so he could come back as a left-handed first baseman. He blew out his arms that bad. So that's how.
So when
that's
you say
how
blow
I
out,
got.
though, are we talking like a Tommy John kind of thing? Or
He didn't tell me. I don't
Okay.
know if it was a shoulder issue or whatever. He just said he threw out his arm catching, and so he couldn't. He was done. So he came back as a left-handed first baseman.
and gave that a try as well. And then,
Yeah.
then he blew that one out too.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
That- he didn't-
I thought
he-
earlier a second ago you said he blew both arms.
Okay,
out.
okay, but
okay. You
Dale,
weren't listening.
Were you sitting were your seats side by side with Hulk on the plane, or like?
No. It was we actually talked before the plane took off. So we were talking, and we saw him getting his ticket, didn't say anything. He was behind me at the X-ray counter, or not the X-ray counter,
Security?
the X-ray security. We didn't have full security. It was just the X-ray machine
Back then, you guys didn't. You could just walk on. We get it.
Yeah.
We get it.
That's
Yeah,
when
we took our
he had
whatever
to
we
watch the
He's teeing
television
us
by
up right now.
candlelight.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
It wasn't. Yes, we had the X-ray machine. So he was, and then on the tram we were to get. It was when I was getting a magazine. So was he, and that's when we started talking. Talked until the flight took off, and then talked when we landed, and that's when he brought me down to baggage claim to meet Randy.
Okay.
And he's been great ever since. I'll tell you, I haven't never had any issues with Hulk. He's been amazing to me through my entire career.
I think it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool the fact that you talked to him and then obviously separated from the flight, and then all of a sudden he grabs you again when you got off the plane.
Yeah.
See, I think that's what makes it unique
we
too.
We weren't far from each other on the plane.
Right,
And
but
then
I'm saying he could have just went about his business.
Yes.
Like, just let everything
Right,
go.
that could have been
forget
the
it, I
end
met
of
some
the
guy.
story
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
there.
And
Yeah.
then he actually took you, and
Yeah.
the story continued. I mean, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, and then I started training. I actually was in.
So wait. You started training for wrestling. Did he just bring it up to you like, hey, what's your thoughts on wrestling?
Hulk brought it up. He said, he goes, "Have you ever thought about wrestling?" And he goes, "You're obviously have the size. Have you ever thought? And you're a baseball player. You got to have the athleticism." And I said, it was kind of a standing joke when I was playing, like, "Oh man, you got the mentality. You should be a wrestler." Me being a huge Kiss fan, and I was a little warped, as you know. So instead of putting my number on the bats, I put Gene Simmons makeup on my. So I throw it in the bat rack, and I could see that was Gene Simmons makeup, and I'd pull my bat. So I was a little off center back then, and
Didn't know
so
that.
so that. Literally, guys. Oh man, you have the
So,
mentality.
but
You should be a
did
wrestler.
you grow up as a wrestling fan as a kid? Like, is it something that you like actively consumed, like growing up?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say I was a diehard fan. I was the Saturday morning kid that watched it, and my mom telling me that, "Why are you watching that stupid stuff? It's not real." And I'd say, "Yeah, but they're great athletes." So I knew back then that there was some theatrics behind it. But I was saying that they're unbelievable athletes. And the cool thing is, one of the first wrestling shows that I ever saw had Tony Atlas on it. I had a buddy of mine growing up, this guy, Brian Martin. His dad was a huge wrestling fan. When I would sleep over or something, he was always watching it. So I started watching it. One of the first shows was Tony Atlas. One of my first television show was part of this AWF. It was a fledgling group, but it had the Road Warriors and Cowboy Bob Orton and Coco Beware. They had a lot of guys from that era were part of it. And my first show that I'm ever part of, Tony Atlas is on it. I mean, it's kind of bizarre, but it was actually really cool.
That's awesome.
Like, so here's my first match that I'd seen on TV, and here's the guy in person on the same show that I'm on.
That's crazy.
It was pretty cool.
So Hulk, you know, he asked you if you're interested in wrestling, and then is that you said you started training? Was that the catalyst to actually get you into training to be a professional wrestler?
Yeah, and I wasn't in my mind. I wasn't done with baseball yet. You know, I knew I was struggling at this point. I knew my eyesight was messed up, and it's hard enough to make it when you're a prospect. You know what I mean? And knowing I have damaged goods. I've been traded. I'm not a prospect. This is not going well. You know, so at this point, you know that this is really, really not going to be. Most likely, the dreams I had of taking over first base at, when Don Mattingly was done, that was my dream. They were dwindling. I was like, okay, this is not going to happen. But I still kept trying to play. I went to spring training, and we were talking actually before, Derek and I were talking before the podcast, that I had joined. I was with the Yankees. And one of my dad's friends was with Texas, called and said, hey, listen, we need a first baseman in Port Charlotte. Where is Dale? Said, oh, he's in Tampa. He's going to be platooning at first base for Tampa. He said, would he be interested in playing first base every day for us in Port Charlotte? So my dad called me. I said, absolutely. And my dad said, well, you got to make the decision. You got to ask for your release if you want to. And I said, well, I want to play every day. I want to see what I can do. So I got my release from the Yankees, said, absolutely, we're not going to hold you back. And off I went. 4 days. I was the last 4 days of spring training. First game I played, went 3 for 4, 4 RBIs, the only out I made. Guy robs me the first field you come out at Port Charlotte, that field. Guy robs me of a home run, and when he robs me of the home run, there was a metal piece sticking out of the fence, of the chain link fence, sticks in his stomach. Brian Ball, our trainer, head trainer with the White Sox now, was with Texas, had to go out and get the guy off the fence that he robbed. He caught the ball, robbed me of the home run, but had to get him off the fence. So I did well for them, and literally they made me go through the talent show. I'm only there 4 days. They made me go through the talent show the last day. So I was staying at my parents' house in Sarasota until the end of spring, and I was commuting. Get back to Sarasota, they called and said, instead of telling me then, they said, yeah, sorry, we signed Lee Stevens to a AAA deal, bumped everybody down. Cool ball. The guy, unfortunately, was killed at first base as a first base coach was hitting it.
His brother was our hitting coach.
Yes. Well, he was in AA the year before. They bumped him back to Port Charlotte and moved him to first base to get at bats and said, sorry, you're the odd man out. And so I was after them asking me to get my release, I was done in 4 days. So I ended up trying to go play independent ball, and it just was, as I'm driving up, it was in Springfield, Illinois. So I was driving from Sarasota to Springfield, Illinois. When I got to Macon, Georgia, I called back, the girl I was dating at the time, I called back to the apartment, and she said, hey, you just got a call from a guy from, at the time, the WWF, said they're interested in training you. Are you interested? Like, what do you want to do with this? And I had to make that decision. Do I keep going or turn around and go home?
Did you start indie ball already, or were you on your way to start?
I was on the way.
Okay.
And so in my head, I'm like, I'm already on the way, even though I'm a long way from Springfield, Illinois, being in Macon, Georgia. I'm like, I gotta see this through. But I was miserable. And at that point I said, I'm done. I can't do this. And
how long did you last when you were, so you went ahead and you went on to Springfield, you played up there?
Yeah, I didn't even play any games.
You didn't even play a game?
No, I was not in the right mindset. And
was it like, hey, I got there, I see how the complex is, I see how everything is, this just doesn't feel like this is for me?
No, it was one final, well, the pay was awful.
You don't have to get emotional.
Try not to burp on
Sorry, guys. We're going to have to pause for a second.
Yeah, we're going to take a little break for Dale's tear session.
Yeah, so no, when I was there was a guy that was like the Triple Crown winner the year before, and he had gone and played he got signed by Cincinnati, and released out of spring training. And I'm like, oh, this guy won the Triple Crown up here. And he's back here. And I was like, oh, man, no matter what I do, I'm like, and that's when I said, this is it. And I went home. I drove back. And I started, I think it was like the 3rd of July, 1996. I got trained. I started getting trained by Jim the Anvil Neidhart and the Warlord in Jim the Anvil Neidhart's backyard.
Wow.
No way.
I will tell you, Anvil, it was very sad to, when he passed away recently, because he was one of the guys that got me started. But man, this was old school. 3 days, they basically Neidhart beat the crap out of me for 3 days nonstop, gave me 30 shoulder tackles in a row on my first day. And when I came back that 4th day, he goes, okay, it's time. It was to see if I was going to come back, see if I had what it takes, to see, do you have it?
So that's just so that for the people that don't truly know, I mean, I think I got it, that's the one off the ropes. They've run right into you. Down you go.
Down you go.
So you constantly were getting up, run up against the ropes. Boom, get hit again. Yes. Get up, throw you again. Boom.
Yes. And if you ever watched Jim, he was an animal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was stocky, fast. I mean, he was I think a power lifter, a shot putter, a NFL football player. He was incredible in that ring, just how the speed and power that he had. And I was just like, man, there was a time I'm like, what did I get myself into? But I'm going to see it through. And I did. I trained with him and outside Land O'Lakes, Florida in the middle of the summer.
Custom rings?
Snakes going on it. No, just there was no padding.
No padding at all. So this is like backyard.
It was like, foam, a little piece of foam that you put under a carpet, that on wood. This wasn't like the WWE or WCW rings.
So what's the thing about that too is, so when you guys were doing this, well, I had it, but it's
wow, that left quick.
Yeah, it did.
Can you help him out there? I don't know what he was talking about.
I was trying to think of like when you guys did the whole wrestling bit, like when you guys were doing, people don't realize that's where I was trying to go, is how hard that really is. Like it's an actual full charge. Like it's kind of like a tackle basically, except you go down and he doesn't.
Right.
And to get hit, how many times you say you
30.
30 times a day, correct?
No, that was 30 times in a row.
30 times in a row. Okay.
First day.
I thought you were saying 3 days in a row of doing that.
No, and then there was slamming, and I mean, it wasn't learning.
Right.
This was
getting a beat down.
We're gonna see what you got.
And that to me, that's what people don't. I know everybody likes to make the comment, and you've heard it many times. Mm-hmm. Wrestling's fake.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that when you guys. You're getting hit with the weapons, the chairs, whatever, the running into each other, the chest slaps, which we're going to talk about mine from you guys. They don't realize how intense that really is.
No.
To me, I think people think it's really sold with the fakeness, where if you came at me and did that, like, you're going to knock the wind out of me doing it for a second. Like, I get it. Like, that's how it is. And people don't understand that you guys, the abuse that wrestlers take on a daily basis.
No, they don't get it. I mean, honestly, I wish the wrestlers, the guys in the WWE, the guys that are on the independent circuits, I wish people did understand the punishment that goes into it. That these guys are out there literally putting their lives on the line. People think, oh, it's scripted, so it's not going to hurt. Come on, man. It's not true. I had to explain this recently to somebody. Said, well, it's fake. And I said, oh, there's a big difference between fixed and fake, right? There's a big, right?
Right. No, it's 100%. I agree with you.
I explain this. If I pick you up, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick you up. There's a table. There's a kitchen table right here. I'm going to pick you up over my head. That's 8 feet up in the air. I'm going to throw you through that table. Are you going through that table? If I pick you up and throw you, you're going through that table.
Oh, yeah.
That's still fixed. That's choreographed.
Right. We know what's going on. Right.
I told you what's happening. Now, in the movies, what's going to happen is you're the star. I pick you up. They yell cut. Stuntman comes up. I throw him through the table breaks. Stuntman gets up. You go lay down.
Yep.
That's fake.
Well, I mean, the best example of that's probably Owen Hart. I mean, that's a fatality that occurred during a fake wrestling match. I mean, I don't
think it was I think they were doing the the training. It wasn't. They were just going over it like a.
No, it was during.
That was the real
pay-per-view.
thing?
It was,
Okay.
it was during. Yeah, thanks, Derek.
My bad.
That's okay.
Well, I have a story from that, and I wasn't there when it happened at all. When I first got started with WCW, I wanted to do a like Black Widow type of character, like repelling from the ceiling, and I told them that. Because I was being a huge Kiss fan, I wanted to do something that was similar to Gene Simmons. That was the idea, but I wanted to repel from the ceiling. Well, I told WCW all these ideas, okay? And then I switched because of Warlord. Warlord said, you got to scrap that idea. Because he goes, you're a baseball player. You look like a baseball player. You move like one. Why don't we do something that's baseball related? And I said, like what? And I said, I don't really want to. And he goes, did you ever see the movie The Warriors? And I said, yeah, about the New York City street gangs. You're too old. I don't know how old you are.
I'm 29.
He's younger than me.
The Baseball Fury were this gang.
Come out and play.
Yes, all right, good.
I know.
So that
Jerk.
These are the weird stories that revolve around me. So I said, okay, let's do this. So I did this face paint with baseball stitches. And, again, it was Gene Simmons-esque in a baseball uniform called the MVP, the most violent player. And I took all of Steinbrenner's rules and I broke them. So I cut the sleeves off, had the pants down over the boots, and, let my hair grow long. All the things that you couldn't do with the Yankees. That was the idea of this character based on the Warriors movie. But I actually was the one that came up with repelling from the ceiling. And I had a baseball bat and white makeup. What does that sound like?
Stinger.
Yeah.
Sting, baby.
If you ever looked at the timeline of when I came and brought my pictures to WCW,
Is that the same time?
it was before.
Oh, okay.
It was before. So when I did my tryout, I had the baseball bat and all that kind of stuff. They was like, you can't use that. You can't use that bat because of the whole thing. I don't think that they gave that idea to Sting, but I think somebody who saw my stuff was like, I have this idea. So I had the repelling from the ceiling, and I don't know that the whole thing.
He did it. That's why I was getting ready to say that. I was going to make the comment to you about that because Sting was one of my favorite wrestlers to watch, and he did. He would come down from the ceiling. He had the white makeup, and he had the baseball bat. And he also had my
AWF match aired before any of that. And I wrestled over in India with a bunch of Marty Jannetty and all these guys over in India with that baseball, that whole thing. And when I came back from India, I went and WCW had a show in St. Pete, and I went and took my pictures around. One of the first people I met was Medusa, and Medusa tried to help me get on. Medusa and I and my wife we've been friends ever since. I mean, she is awesome. Such a super lady. But we've known each other, and she's one of those people that was one of the first ones to introduce me to the people behind the scenes, JJ Dillon. JJ is like, I saw this. Where did I see this? And I said, the AWF, because it was supposed to be a dark match for the AWF. It was my first match I've ever had.
For those that don't know, though,
the dark match is not. It's before the show. That's not filmed for TV. Well, they filmed it and aired it, and they never paid me, never got consent, nothing for the AWF.
Oh wow!
There's this is not for this is for another time, but there was so much stuff that happened that Warlord made me get my character, that MVP, trademarked and copyrighted, and I went through Metallica's lawyers to get it copyrighted. The AWF tried to take that character from me by airing it, said that it was their property. By airing it on the show, they tried, and Warlord explained, hey, protect yourself because this business, you'll see, they tried to threaten me. They said, I'll never work in the business unless I sign that over. And I'm like, well, go ahead. I won't work in it. I was too young and naive at that point. I'm like, whatever. And I'm like, I own it. And so I owned it all the way for years and years. I owned the MVP. The minute I let it go, I'm like, I'm never going to use it. I keep paying for it. Is when the MVP from the WWE picked it up.
Wow.
So the WWE picked it up right when I let it go. But this is one of those weird coincidences. I'm in a like fishbone restaurant or something in Winter Haven, Florida. And the manager comes up and says, "Oh, how was your dinner and all that?" And fine, yeah, it was good. What do you do and everything? And I said, I'm a pro wrestler, that kind of thing. I was doing the MVP character.
Did you have it on right now? Like
I did at dinner.
Oh, okay,
yes.
so you were still in costume?
Why would I be in costume at dinner?
Because you could be super crazy and want people
Seriously?
to look at you. No,
I think Derek's wants to live out a fantasy with you right now.
Derek's falling asleep. He didn't hear anything I said right now.
I'm out cold.
I've been tentatively listening this entire time. Derek, you took a nap before this, man. What's going on?
Yeah,
actually, I didn't get to.
He's falling asleep.
Bruce kept me.
See,
awake.
I'm boring him. So I'm just going to talk.
I'm just going to talk to you.
I'm going to talk directly to you.
I'm really engaged.
So this guy who's the manager is talking to me about it, and I said, yeah, it's a baseball character, blah, blah, blah. And I said, it's based on the movie The Warriors. You ever seen it? The guy pulls out his business card, and he says, look up my name. So I looked up his name, Googled his name. He was one of the guys that played the baseball Fury characters in that movie. One of whatever 6 or 7 guys in that movie. He was the manager of that restaurant, Winter Haven, Florida. All the people
my God.
I mean, that's
have
bizarre.
a lot of weird coincidences.
Yes, I do.
That happen around you, man. That's
and
for
a lot
sure.
of weird friends that sit.
It actually, I can back that up. There are some crazy things that would definitely be happening at the White Sox. He knows everybody. He runs into everybody. I mean, this guy he's a freaking unicorn. Special.
Thanks.
So,
thank you.
So, I had to think of something.
At what point though did you become the demon? And did you pick the name, or did someone else pick it for you? Like, how did that happen?
It was actually kind of cool.
He ran into the Kiss band, and they were like, "Oh, you should be called Demon and be a wrestler."
Almost. No, it's a little different. So I did the MVP character a few times on WCW TV. One, I can't remember. One was, God, I can't think. Horace Hogan was one of the guys, and now I'm blanking on. Oh, Maestro was the other guy. So I did it twice on TV, and they stopped me from doing it because they said, "Hey, we have something else that I think you'd be interested in." So they pulled me off TV right away. I had won the first match as MVP. Then they beat me because they said, "Hey, we're gonna."
So they could eliminate him.
Yeah, we're gonna take this away because we want you to do this other character if you're interested.
Another emotional time right here.
I had heard some rumors about a Kiss character, but I heard that it was the WWE at the time. WWF. I heard, and I'm like, oh man, that would be awesome if WCW did it and all that, and I was like, man, that would have been awesome. Well, it started to come to fruition of what was going on. They asked me, well, in the meantime, I had, before that, I had, I gotta remember how I did it. I blew out my knee at the United Center and dislocated my knee in a match with Kendall Windham. I've sold out United Center, blow out my knee, kneecaps on the wrong side of my leg. It was brutal. And I was out for 6 months. And
Wow.
I was actually supposed to go when I blew out my knee. I had a plane ticket ready to go to Kiss's opening night at Dodger Stadium of Psycho Circus.
Here it comes.
Yeah,
It's coming.
but I couldn't go because I had I was going to get knee surgery, so I missed that show. And then I find out after I had rehabbed for 6 months, first day. I had just gotten cleared within an hour of being down at the power plant, just kind of moving around to see how my knee was going to take it in the ring.
What's the power plant?
Power plant is where all the guys trained before they became stars on TV. Bill Goldberg was down there with us before he was Bill Goldberg.
Is that in Tampa?
Is
No,
that
this is in Atlanta. No,
Okay,
this is part of WCW's.
Is that kind of like the NXT now?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
NXT
Yeah.
was much better, well organized, better. The way that they did it. This was more of a ring. Just there was like 3 or 4 rings, and it was actually an old carpet warehouse in the original one. Then they moved it to where the WCW offices were later. They moved it down there. But I had gone there just to feel what was going on with the knee, and the phone rang. And back then, because it was an old warehouse, the phone would ring out front. You could hear it ring through the building. It was just so that if a worker was back there, they could go get the phone. And then there was a loudspeaker, and Jody Hamilton was the guy who ran it. He was a big-time wrestler back in the day. Called me up, said, Dale, we need you to come up front. And like I said, I'd only been there like an hour. I'd just gotten cleared an hour. Said, hey, Eric Bischoff wants you to come to the office right now. And as a baseball guy, after you've come back from an injury and you're like, oh no, I got cleared. Does this mean I'm getting released? You know what I mean?
It's actually, I was going to say, it's a scary moment.
Yeah, it is.
Your heart drops because, obviously I've experienced that, especially with the knee injury, was when I came back and I was trying to play, I thought for sure, all right, we're done. It's time to go bye-bye. But I was going to say something is, was that whole mess with Eric Bischoff when he came in there, was that before this or after this, when everything started kind of going down with WCW?
After it.
After, okay.
And it's part of it because of it.
Oh, so when Demon was being created, that's when WCW was on the decline.
Not quite.
Not yet?
Yeah.
Okay. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know
And so,
what I mean?
just to clarify, like the way it worked, and this is just, I might be off on my understanding, but with the WCW and the WWE, a lot of the guys from the WWE like ended up over at the WCW, right? And like ended up essentially, while the WWE was trying to create new superstar characters to put out, these older contracts were expiring, WCW was picking them up, and then kind of like almost in that little time period of them creating new superstars, WCW kind of becomes like the one to watch because all the superstars from WWE are now over there, correct?
Sure. Yeah. And it really was. When you look at, a lot of times people want to kind of make fun of WCW and a lot of the WWE stuff on their network and everything kind of wants to bag on WCW. But you look at 80 some weeks in a row, we won in the ratings and almost put the WWE out of business at that time.
Monday Night Thunder, right? Thunder or Monday Night
Nitro.
Oh yeah, what was the Thunder? Thursday night.
Thursday Thunder.
Yeah, damn it.
Yes. Monday Nitro versus their Raw.
I remember
Dale,
that was
isn't
the
it great
thing.
how I sound pretty well informed with my wrestling knowledge?
No, you don't. Pipe down.
Yes, you do.
Pipe down. We'll have a cage match after this.
So do you want to hear the rest of the story?
No. I was because it made me think of that when you said Eric Bischoff.
No, so you're training at the power plant,
right? So I go to it's a 10-minute drive or something where the WCW offices are, and I go and I meet with Eric, and Eric says, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm okay. I'm doing fine. Eric really didn't talk to young talent. This guy was the tops. It's like you don't go up to the owner of the team. Hey, how's it going?
Actually, it's kind of different nowadays.
Yeah.
Just because they're more accessible and they're always coming around. But yeah, you're right. Like earlier in my career, you weren't.
Yeah, because you could literally say the wrong thing or look at someone the wrong way in the wrestling world, and you had heat. You're buried. You're out. It just was that bad. So you always had to be careful of what you were saying around whatever. So you didn't really go up and jump in front of Eric. Hey, look at me, look at me. So I was very respectful to Eric, and he really did an amazing job with WCW, creating the NWO with Hulk and Hall and Nash and all of. Amazing. And the whole Sting thing, that was just amazing time in the business. So bottom line is, he says, I hear that you're a Kiss fan. And I said, yeah, I've been a Kiss fan since the age of 5. My brother brought home the Destroyer record, and I was hooked from the age of 5 on. And he said, listen, we're doing a character. This is all confidential. We're doing a character. We signed a deal with Gene Simmons from Kiss. Do you know about Gene? I go, I can tell you pretty much everything about the guy. This was one of my idols when I was growing up. My 3 idols were my dad, Mattingly, and Gene Simmons. I did a speech at Northwestern on that. And so
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was like, yes, I know everything about Gene. Yes, I know about Kiss. I've been a Kiss fan forever. And he goes, would you be interested in doing this character? And I said, absolutely. And he goes, okay, here's the deal. You are having a tryout match in St. Louis on Sunday. This is Friday.
Wow.
I just got cleared. So he goes, so I know you've just been cleared recently. And I said, yeah, I just got cleared an hour ago. And he goes, today? And I said, yeah, today. I said, I just was at the power plant seeing how my knee felt. He said, do you want this or not? I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, then you have a match.
Man, talk about timing.
Yeah. And I said, okay, and you hear people talk about in the business ring rust. You have a lot of ring rust if you're set for 6 months with a knee injury. And I'm thinking, oh man, this is not the time, but okay. So he goes, you go down. He goes, find someone you want to wrestle, get with them. You're flying out tomorrow to St. Louis. You have a tryout match before the dark match, before the pay-per-view in St. Louis. Okay, cool. So I call guy Johnny Swinger, who was one of the most amazing talents. I should have been like a Shawn Michaels, great wrestler, amazing talent. He meets me runs down, meets me at the power plant. We talk through a match. We have 10 minutes. So I went from doing nothing to having a 10-minute match.
Gee, and 10 minutes is pretty long too.
Real long.
Yeah,
especially when your wind's not up.
That's what I was gonna say. The other thing too is and it's nothing directed to you, but as a bigger athlete, it's a lot harder. Like you watch some of the guys like Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman. They don't do those long matches. The heavyweight guys don't really handle, I guess, that long endurance of the fight. Did that, like, having to plan that, and you said you'd been out for 6 months.
Yeah, I hadn't done
You're
anything.
jumping back into this, the heat of the battle right there. Like, that's tough.
I'll tell you, I have never been as nervous before or since that moment. It was the most nerve-wracking time. Not that I was scared of the match. It was because I wanted it so bad.
Well, plus it probably has a lot more weight on it with the fact that the Gene Simmons Kiss tie-in, right? It's not just like some random character. Like, you've got a lot of like probably emotional equity just into the concept of Kiss, and how crazy is it that you, this super fan of the band, is potentially going to get to portray a character based on this tryout, right? That, of a guy that you idolize, So I think that's got a lot to it.
I think that was you hit it on the head. I think that was the majority of it. I wanted this character so bad to represent, in my mind, the greatest band in the world, one of my idols. Here I get a chance to represent that. That's what I was nervous about. Like, I was so keyed up and I couldn't sleep Friday night, couldn't sleep Saturday night. It was just one of those times where I just wanted it so bad. And it was funny because you want it so bad, but you also want it over so bad because you want to make sure you did it right. So I told Johnny Swinger, knowing that my knee was messed up, still wasn't 100%. I told him, I said, if it's going to go, it's going to go on a drop kick. I go, let's not waste any time. I go, let's lock up. I'm going to push you back, and I'm going to drop kick you the first move. If it goes, it goes. We know it, and it's over with. Let's not waste any time. Let's not go 9 minutes and 30 seconds in and drop kicking, and my knee blows, and okay, it's a waste of time. Let's do it, see what happens. So I drop kick, and when I landed, I'm like, okay, I'm good. But the cool thing about the whole story of this is that Johnny Swinger and I land in St. Louis, go to get our bags, gonna go get a rental car, and there's a lady that was on the WCW shows at the counter. There was nobody at the Avis counter helping her, but there was a lady there, and I asked her if she needed a ride, and was the sweetest lady, super nice. And I ended up marrying her, and we have a daughter together.
Wow!
Yeah,
wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
that's a fun fact right there.
That was my wife Christy, who portrayed Asia on the WCW shows, and I met her going for that tryout match at St. Louis Airport at the Avis counter.
Wow, that is insane.
Yeah,
that is wild.
There is one thing I do want to add to something that I think that people don't really know, and maybe it sets up people in a different way of looking at wrestling, but. So you had long hair as the Demon.
Yeah.
And you're doing everything. And as wrestlers, we've talked about this. You've showed me so much that goes into the wrestling. So when they're in the ring, I don't know if you know this, T, but they're telling each other what's going on constantly. When they grab each other.
No, we don't. It's real, remember?
Okay, there he is. He's back, everybody. He's back. But they tell each other, and people don't catch it. And that's what I love about watching the wrestling in general is it's such a sneaky way. Like, people don't see it. They don't realize what's going on while they're in the ring.
Well,
there's
it's
the
like
ref
the
that's
magician
communicating.
sleight of hand almost, right? Like that's
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of it.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And but the thing is, it's so quick and they're so short too. But then, for instance, he had a 10-minute match and they're telling each other, because trust me, you could sit and practice this, like he said, for that day before. But once you're out there, it's a different animal. Like I've watched when I went there, and like I like watching New Day and, AJ Styles and all those guys that are recent, and they do all the preparing beforehand. But then when you go out there and watch the match, yeah, they prepared for these certain situations so that way they can finish the match. But beforehand, they're talking the entire time.
Right.
Now, it's not visible to where it's like, hey, grab me. It's not that. They lock up, and then as they're head-to-head, one of them saying something. And, for instance, he had it perfect because he had long hair. You can't see it. When his hair is in front of his face, he can say whatever he wants. And that's something that I don't think people realize. For a match that's 10 minutes long, they scripted it out word for word the entire match. And that, to me, for knowing something last second, am I wrong?
That's not 100% true. A 10-minute match, we're not smart enough to remember the whole thing.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So
you guys are talking. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You guys are talking out there.
You're scripting parts of it, beginning and middle, high spots, and then there's the ad-lib part is where you're talking.
Yeah, so is like when you're doing the ad-lib part and you are conversing kind of back and forth like discreetly, like is it you saying to your opponent like this is what I'm gonna do, and he's like nah I want to do this instead, and then you guys come to an agreement?
No. You know ahead of time pretty much too. They give you a lot of information ahead of time about who, what the percentages of offense would be. If Derek and I were doing it, it might be, 70-30. If depending on, I might win the match as a heel. He's a baby face and he's working me over, and he's gonna do it, and then I cut him off. I do boom, boom, boom. I do a couple of things. He cuts me off again, and then but it's 70-30. But then I'm gonna cheat to win, because they thought he's whooping my ass. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, and then boom, something happens. I cheat to win, and now they're mad at me. They want to see us battle again. So it's all the psychology of a match. There's a psychology within the wrestling match that's nonverbal that goes through. You're watching the physical storyline.
Yep.
Along with all the verbal stuff that's going on around it that fits with the actual storylines and the threads through the show, which goes from show to show, from pay-per-view to pay-per-view, so that those threads go through, and then you got to tell the story. So there's a lot that goes into it. And what I wanted to say too is that you bring up a good point, is what we were talking about. I don't think wrestlers get enough respect. The guys that are doing it every day, it's amazing that they do it every day, the punishment, but also the reason that people think that you don't get hurt and things like that is because they're so good. They are so professional. Right. You don't see them talking. Right. They make it look eeasy. And that's the problem, is that these guys on TV, the AJ Styles, all these guys, they make it look easy. We were with Tommy Dreamer. He and I were with Tommy Dreamer. That's
a future guest, by the way. Somebody we have to get.
Shout out.
But when you see guys like Edge, I mean, the ridiculous talent that they have made it look easy. The getting up after a hellacious bump made it look easy. After the match, he can barely walk, but he battled through it for the crowd. And, that's where you go, oh my God, that's why I think you got to give these guys a huge amount of respect for doing it day in, day out, every night for the crowd. They do it for the crowd. Yeah, they get paid well and all that, but it's not. It's about performing for the crowd. That's it.
And to even add on to that, like the way that the crowd even gets involved and the way that the wrestlers themselves hype up to it it's unbelievable. And I know we sit here and we talk about how great they sell everything and they do it, but man, there's nothing like what they're doing. It's a constant beatdown. 365. Let me put it this way. They don't even get much of an off season. Like, for instance, here I am with baseball. You know this. Mm-hmm. I get, the season ends in October. Hopefully you get to go into the beginning of November because of the World Series. And then you got November, December, January, and then you're back out at February. These guys don't even get it off during the week. They're literally going, we're going to use WWE right now. Actually, we'll go with WCW. You got Monday Night Nitro, mm-hmm. and then you got Tuesday, Wednesday. You're probably scripting for the next fight that's going to be on Thursday night.
Well, no, we taped Tuesday for Thursday's show.
So you were doing it.
So Monday Night Nitro.
Right.
we would be, I mean, to give you an idea, I guess, since we're in Phoenix area, would be at the arena here in Phoenix, right? Monday Nitro.
Right.
Thunder the next night would be probably in Tucson, a drive from where we're at. So then a smaller arena for Thunder. It wasn't as big.
Right. Kind of like it is now with SmackDown and Raw. Yeah.
So you're going to Tucson. And then you're going to go, the next night was actually a taping for Saturday night. And then depending, you either go home after that, or you would have house shows, where house shows aren't televised shows, where you're going boom, and one stop to the next, to the next, to the next. And then you're back on Monday again, doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Another emotional time.
Yeah.
But on time, the other thing too T, have you been to an event at all by any chance? Like you've been to well, yeah, you went to WrestleMania.
Like,
you went to
Dale,
WrestleMania.
You would think,
I know
Dale,
that.
This is the first time we've met. This is the first time we've met. Been to WrestleMania.
But what I was trying to say is, have you gone to one of the, what'd you call it, the dark show? Is that what it, like, not
well,
televised?
Yeah. I mean, they do
dark
that
matches.
on most of the. They do that at most of the events. I mean, I think I've been to a SmackDown.
No, I mean like the shows that aren't
Raw.
even on TV. I'm talking about the shows not on TV.
House shows.
House shows. Yeah, I couldn't think of the word.
No, I haven't been to a house show, but I have seen a dark show that's happened before the televised event started.
The dark match. Dark match is before. Yeah, I get that. Okay, so with the house show, so I've been to one, and it's literally, what's so cool about it is they do this anyway in general, but it's more enhanced, is the way that the wrestlers actually interact with the fans at a house show. Because there's no cameras, they can actually say more. Now, they say a lot even during the regular matches too, but you get away with a lot more then. And I think that's something that's cool about the wrestling is the fans are really more involved in those shows.
I mean, it would have to be at that point because you don't get to rely on all the technology and the screens and all that. I mean, it's probably a little bit more of an intimate experience for the fan. I mean, I'm just assuming.
Now he was just saying too. I know you didn't hear him because you were too busy talking. He actually had a good house show story. But before you start that though, that's what I was meaning. So when I was saying how you as a wrestler you don't have as much off time because of the house shows, and I always thought, now one of my friends, Baron Corbin, wrestling WWE, you know who he is.
Catch that name down.
Yeah, he did.
I just picked it up here.
Okay, it wasn't big enough. It wasn't a big enough name for him, so he just let that one fly by. He would always tell me, like, when they would do those kind of shows, that's kind of their way of preparing for the next whatever we're going to do on Monday Night Raw, where it's televised. That's why I was saying it's kind of like you're practicing the script. You get to more of a feel. Now, I could be wrong. Again, that was something he kind of said. That's kind of what they do. It's not truly based that way.
No, if you know that you're going to be working with a certain guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they let you know that, you can work some things out, some spots that you might want to do. Absolutely.
As for your story, though.
Yeah, but it was what you're talking about, scripted and all that, about matches and how you interact with the fans. Sting gave me one of the best lessons I've ever had. I'm pretty sure it was Evansville, Indiana. It's going to be my first main event, and it's against Sting.
Oh, wow.
House shows are different too. And for regular shows that you're on TV, you're there at like 1:00 in the afternoon. I'm sure he tells you that you're there early.
It's early.
Yeah, real early. Well, house shows you don't have to be. If the show starts at 7, you might show up at 4 because there isn't really a lot that you have to get ready. It's like, oh, you're wrestling this guy, put it together. There aren't like a whole lot of people behind the scenes, scripts and all that, because it's. Here, the people are there just to see wrestling, you know what I mean? And see the stars. So it's going to be it's like first main event. I'm pumped up, And when you first actually do start in the business, like you were saying it, where you try to memorize everything. You try to. You're like, man, I got to memorize. We do this, this, and this, which causes you at times to be robotic because you're trying to remember this and this in your head and not going with the fluidity of the match. Well, so I'm jacked, like I said, okay, I'm wrestling Sting, another true icon.
Yeah.
Main event. This is awesome. So I get with Sting, I go, you know what we're doing tonight? Because he's the veteran, he's the one who's going to put the match together. You listen to the veterans.
Right.
And Sting was awesome, by the way. One of the great dudes in the business, unbelievable worker. I mean, he just was easy. He's like, he was just light with everything that looked like it killed you, but it didn't. He just, true professional. Like the guy is amazing. So he goes, I said, what do you want to do tonight? And he goes, I don't know. He goes, come back later. I'll let you know. And like I said, it's 4:00. The show's not until 7. What was that?
That was the car horn on the outside portion of the home
of the studio.
I think the studio. We had to soundproof that window right there.
They were special effects. That's what it was. But no, so
It's the main event.
Yeah,
main event.
So Sting's like, I don't know, just come back. So 5:00, whatever. I come back. He's like, yeah, I'll let you know. I haven't really thought about it yet. So the show's now going on.
Oh, God.
And I come back and he goes, but we're the main event. So we're not, we're still a couple hours away at least. And so he goes, go put your face paint on and all that kind of stuff. And by that point, I'll know what we're doing. So I come back, I have my face paint on, and he's sitting with Lex Luger and Kevin Nash, and they're just laughing, telling stories. He still doesn't have his paint on yet. And so I sit there and I'm listening. And if you ever met Kevin Nash is one of the most entertaining people I have ever met in my entire life. One of the funniest human beings, can tell stories like nobody's business, just hilarious. So we're just listening. Still don't know what's going on. Sting's like, at one point he goes, oh man, I gotta go. I gotta paint up. He goes, I'll know what we're doing after I paint up. I'm like, oh my God, we're like 3 matches away and we still haven't gone over anything.
Freaking me out just a little bit at this point.
Yeah, so now we're about 2 matches away. I still don't know anything. And he goes, hey, do you know what the finish is? I said, no. And he goes, okay, this is the finish, blah, blah, blah. Are you good with that? And I said, yeah. He goes, all right, I'll think about the match real quick. We'll go over it. We are almost now, we're getting ready. And it's time. I mean, we're literally, the match is going on before us. Still don't know. Sting comes up. He's fully dressed as Sting. And he goes, so you know the finish, right? I said, yeah. And he goes, okay, see you out there.
Oh my God.
And I went, what? And he goes, listen to me. You'll be fine. Walks away.
Wow.
And I said, all right. So there's nothing I have to memorize. I don't have to remember anything. Go to lock up or get in the ring. The ref says, do it, circle up. The ref tells me, circle up. When you get around, lock up. So we lock up and Sting goes, here we go. Just listen. No one sees it. He says, here we go. Just listen. Off we go. I had so much fun. I listened the whole time. Didn't have to memorize anything. The match was fluid as can be. The crowd was going nuts. And, just going around. Boom, boom, boom. We'd go through the whole match. 1, 2, 3, the finish. I go back to the dressing room.
Emotional again in case you didn't catch that.
Yeah.
It was a very exciting match, as he said.
It was a rough,
but it got him.
It was a rough lunch today, apparently. But yeah, so he goes, "How was it?" And I said, "Man, that was awesome." He goes, "That's what I wanted to show you. That's what wrestling is about."
Man,
he said, "You listened to the crowd, didn't you?" He said, "You have to stop memorizing things and listen to the crowd, because if you memorize and the crowd's not into it, what are you going to do?" The crowd's going to hate you.
Yeah.
You have to be able to switch on a dime, to be able to think on your feet. He goes, what I wanted you to do was to listen to the crowd and feel the moves that we're doing and understand why I'm doing something. Because he said, we're trying to elicit a response from the crowd. You can't do that if you're frozen and robotic trying to memorize everything. So that was a huge lesson from him. And it was one of the best matches. It was awesome. Like, we just had such a good time, going through it. And that was a true veteran rookie moment. Like,
that's an incredible story, man.
Show the kid the ropes.
That's
what's crazy about that to me is how that parallels to, like, either, you want to say music, from an artist standpoint, or really like DJs, because what you were doing there is the same thing that a DJ does when he's in a nightclub or at a festival in front of, 20,000 people. They're playing to the crowd. It's like you can have your set list down and like, okay, I'm going to play these 30 songs over the next, hour. And you can kind of go in with that game plan, but if you don't adapt, like if you drop the first song as a DJ, or in your case with Sting, the first move that you think like, okay, this is going to be a great way to start off this set, or this is going to be a great way to start off this match, but then the crowd doesn't really react to it. They're not jumping around. They're not dancing to the song. Either you got to switch your setup or switch your moves up, because if you don't, you're just going to basically be getting that same response. And so that's what makes the best DJs the best DJs. And again, I'm just paralleling this to what you just said, but it's that ability to adapt and be flexible. You can go in with the game plan, but know that, like you said, on the drop of a dime, based on the reaction that you're getting, or based on the reaction that the song's getting, that's then going to dictate my next move and my next play or my next song that I draw. I just think that's super interesting. That's a incredible story and experience, but it's also kind of like a life lesson a little bit too,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing too I want to know is, was there a certain moment to you that you were like, shit, this is great? Like something that stood out to you, like when the crowd either really got into it, or obviously they stayed into it the entire time, but was there a certain moment that hit you and you were like, this is really happening? This is freaking great. Like with Sting.
I think it was the whole thing. I mean, you go from, when he said, the moment when he hit me and said, I'll see you out there, it was this.
Yeah, but you were in full panic there though.
Yeah, at that point. And then it's amazing though. It went from full like, what, to, all right, well,
you don't really have an option at that point. I mean, you kind of just have to go with it. Like there's no choice.
It was awesome, man. I'll tell you. So Sting was part of that. Was huge. And then I had a match in, it was in Indiana. We had a match, and it was Sting, Booker T, and Chronic versus me, Jeff Jarrett, the Great Muta, and Vampiro. And it was unbelievable. The place was going absolutely crazy.
Do you remember what city you guys were in?
He just said Indiana.
Yeah, it was.
Never mind. State.
Where is Larry Bird from?
I don't know.
Oh. Nah, I don't know either.
Indianapolis?
No, I'm blanking on it. And there's a guy who created the Kiss Army that's going to kill me because it was. That's
you
where
didn't
it's
do your
from.
research.
What's that?
You didn't do your research.
I knew it was Indiana.
Dude, he's a wealth of knowledge, Derek. He doesn't have to do research.
Hey, go back under your bridge, troll.
But I'll tell you what, though, that match right there was my favorite. Vampiro and I lost the match together. We got pinned at the same time, literally 1, 2, 3 at the same time. And it was still my favorite match I've ever had because the crowd was going, everything we did. Booker T was about to win and I came and made the save, booing us. And it was just like everything we did clicked. And it was just amazing through the whole thing. And I remember sitting there going, oh my God, that is the joy of what it is. Getting the reaction like that was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Is that when it clicked for you to where you're like, this is what I was meant to do? This is what I love. I'm here for. This is what I get to do.
Yeah. That feeling is what it was about.
Well, I mean, there's obviously like, we will never know what that true feeling is. I mean, it's to hear that, but I mean, I still like, is that going to be, so that to me, is that the iconic moment for you?
Yeah, I had a few.
Well,
yeah.
I just feel like with you, Dale, from like all the stories so far, like kind of back to when the baseball injury happened, when you got hit in the face, kind of the whole, everything happens for a reason. You kind of, it seems like you have these, cause like Derek was, saying, this is what I'm meant to do, but it's almost like maybe that was the moment you realize that that's what you were meant to do for that particular phase, because you kind of have, it seems like you have these phases in your life so far that aren't waste of time, but they're almost, I don't know if they're stepping stones or what they are, but you definitely have like these iconic moments and like these kind of crazy coincidental moments that are kind of like, wow, what are the odds of that happening? So far in baseball, and in wrestling. I mean, it just seems like that's a lot of kind of almost how you operate is just very go with the flow.
Yeah, I tried to, and I think what I was saying about earlier, saying I did that speech at Northwestern and everything, and I was headed in one direction, and it's like the baseball world kind of closed, but I had the entertainment side and the athletic side of me, and it collided as the demon character. And I'm going to bring this full circle to what you were talking about with Eric Bischoff and the downfall. And one of the things that they kind of contributed the KISS contract to the demise of WCW or Eric Bischoff, which is funny because all the numbers that get thrown around aren't the true numbers. I mean, I've seen the contracts. It's not all that they said it was, but there was going to be more to it. But when Eric kind of lost the power, they originally tried to bury the demon character because I wasn't the original.
And real quick for me, Eric Bischoff, was he the head of the WCW at the time, like the Vince McMahon of WCW? Okay.
Yeah, and did amazing things for WCW, but he took they wanted to kind of blame things on him, and they tried to blame that he did a terrible deal with KISS and all that. The only thing that was a bad deal with KISS was the merchandising contract, okay? At which no one really knows this, is that they started beating the demon character, me, because they wanted to make Eric Bischoff look bad. The interesting thing about it, there was a whole thing on the internet where the writers could not believe. They said, we're beating this guy and he's still getting cheered. What is going on? Like, we thought we're going to bury this and make Eric look bad. And it backfired because I believed in the character. I think it was because I believed in him. I wasn't going to let it die. Huh. And I took a lot of heat in the wrestling world because of it, of battling for that character, which a lot of people don't know, whatever. But they took me off TV because they're like, wait a minute. We tried to bury this guy, and then people got behind him. What is going on? So they repackaged me as a babyface. They came back and started doing more stuff with me. But the contract itself was the problem, was the merchandising deal. And I asked Gene Simmons, we were backstage in Tampa, and I was talking to Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley there in full makeup, and I said, listen, I got to tell you, one of the things that's going wrong with this is they don't want to push the character because WCW won't make merchandising money. That's right. That's how they make money. And the crazy thing is that now is this.
That's what I was getting ready to tie into.
This literally took from, because of the contract back in the day.
That's actually an action figure of you. That's insane.
That didn't come out until this summer.
Are you kidding me?
No, that came out this summer. It was a crazy thing, the merchandising deal. Well, I asked Gene about it, and Gene says, you know what? Listen, you tell WCW to call the lawyers. We'll change the deal. We'll change the deal to make that more beneficial for WCW, so they'll push the character, and we can go forward with that. And WCW didn't. At the time, it was really, there was a lot going on. It wasn't the best time. It was a mess at that point.
What does that feel like, having your own? Actually, let me run something in here first, so when this was getting made, and it's going to kind of take us off a little bit, but we're going to come right back to it. So when this was getting made, you introduced me to Chavo Guerrero.
Yes.
And something else had happened beforehand, which I definitely wanted to make sure I plugged this in because it meant a lot to me. So while I was with the White Sox, I ended up losing my grandma, and I was extremely close to her, and the first person I saw was you. I'll never forget that day. Like, you helped me out so much. It meant a lot to me, and it was somebody that I was extremely close to. It meant a lot. But on top of that, like, just to change the subject, because I don't want to get too far into it, because it definitely sucks, because that was somebody it's like a mom to me. But this thing was being made.
Yeah.
And that's where I got to meet Chavo, and you brought him in, and all the guys came in. So for T, you didn't. This is something that was crazy. We came into the weight room, and I always joked around with them about, let's do a chest slap. I want to do one just like, or chop slap. Sorry, just the chop. So I said, hey, let's get a chop. So he surprised me with this. I had no idea. Chavo's there. I get to meet him. I'm pumped because I know exactly who he is. Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero's a baseball player. Yeah. Eddie Guerrero is his brother, and he had passed away. How long ago was that?
That's been a while now.
It's been a while. But his brother came in and was hanging out with us and checking out the baseball life. So I said, all right, give me this chop. I want to do it. So I took my shirt off. I got the actual video. I'll have to find it. And at first they were, yeah, I can show it now because it don't matter. But before we weren't allowed to do any of that kind of stuff. But for reasons. But so the first one, I take my shirt off and he's like, all right, here we go. This is what I'm going to do. He shows me because I didn't know exactly how it went down. Swings and he gets me, but it's not quite what he wanted. And I mean, this thing knocked the freaking wind out of me.
Okay.
And I'm talking chest is beet red. Like, I mean, it looks like somebody just poured red Gatorade on my chest.
It did.
I mean, it was bad. Like, he got me. And
it was good.
And I was like, I'm sitting there and like, oh God. And like, I'm trying to, kind of be tough in front of the guys. And all of a sudden he's like, yeah, I didn't get you good. And I'm looking like, are you freaking kidding me? You freaking just destroyed me. I was like, all right, screw it. Let's go again. Dale, on the other hand, is like, no, we're not doing this. We can't do this anymore. We got to stop. And I looked at Chavo and I was like, let's do it. And finally, he kind of agreed to it. Not really.
I just said, it's on you because this is going to kill.
Because he's like, it's going to, well, one, he thought he was going to get in trouble. And two, it's on me anyway. And I didn't
want you to get hurt.
It would have been the worst headline the next day on SportsCenter and like ESPN, like...
Yeah. Chavo Guerrero destroys Derek Holland's chest. So he ends up hitting me the second time, and this one was good. Now, the way that you got to hit, like it's like a swipe up the chest, but you got like the cup of your hand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, it can go two different ways. One, it can really, if they don't get you good, it's going to hurt, which that's how the first one was. The second one, don't get me wrong, it still hurt, but it wasn't nearly as bad. Now, it still left a mark and all that stuff. But it was probably one of the coolest moments for me because I love wrestling. And me and him will joke around. We've done the whole fighting. He's helped me out and all that stuff. But this was somebody as well that I got to say I got chopped by. It was a pretty cool moment. And that was something that happened with him, all because of him.
Yeah, we'll need to get that video and throw that up on
I think I have it.
Instagram.
I think it's in either,
yeah, you posted it.
It might be, yeah,
somebody
I posted it.
Chavo, I think, posted it too.
Yeah, I think
and Chavo, who's awesome, he's doing really well with Glow.
I didn't even know.
Yeah, he's behind the scenes with Glow, with all that stuff. Went to the Emmys and all that stuff. He's doing
I didn't
great.
even know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
cool.
That was a cool moment that he got to share. I got to meet I got the ring announcer. Who else did you bring around? You had somebody for when no, it was just the ring announcer.
Yeah,
Justin. And then obviously Tommy Dreamer was the other guy too. Yeah, Justin. I forget his last name. Roberts.
That's cool. Dale, let me ask you this: what was Gene Simmons like in general? I mean, and what do you remember like the first time actually getting to meet him in person?
Yeah, I met them before. I met him before I was. Would have been 92, I think, in Chicago was the first time I met Gene.
And this is pre-Demon.
Oh yeah, pre-Demon. And then it's hard to explain.
What were you meeting him for back then?
92, just went as a fan to one of the shows and met him backstage. And actually, it's the first time I spoke to Eric Singer, who is the drummer with Kiss. So Eric and I have known each other now. He is a great dude. Eric Singer is hilarious. He's, I just saw them a week and a half ago here in Phoenix. They were here for the End of the Road tour. Amazing. Oh my God. If you get a chance, even if you're not a Kiss fan, to see this, it is one of the best stage shows. The spectacle was second to none. I mean, you watch some videos of it online. And as cool as that is, it doesn't do it justice. I mean, they are pulling out all the stops for the End of the Road. But Eric Singer, I met, 92 backstage, and Bruce Kulick was with the band at the time. And so I met Gene then, and then I met them a couple other times through different things. And it's just been the coolest deal because I've known them now for this long. Saw them backstage just the other night. Paul Stanley is one of the nicest, most down-to-earth people you're going to meet. Like, he'll come to Orlando or something, and he invites my wife and daughter up. We go to dinner, and he's so nice to, like, my daughter would text him a birthday card, and thank you, Sierra. I mean, just to
Wait, text him a birthday card?
Yes. My
Virtual
daughter
birthday card, right?
took a picture. She made a birthday
I'm just
card
making sure,
of it.
most birthday cards are sent in the mail.
Dude, I get virtual birthday cards and stuff all the time, dude. Welcome to the 21st century, man.
Stop trying to kiss ass right now.
Dude, this is real life.
See, that was a nice thing about my daughter doing that, and he had to ruin it. See that?
Dude, it's
sentimental
Dale,
moments.
honestly,
It's just
Dale,
terrible.
this episode is really telling me a lot about who I picked as a podcast partner.
Yeah.
And so what I was going to suggest is after this, Dale, we'll go ahead and I'm going to get you on my own podcast called.
You're out.
I got you.
You're out.
But so anyways, back to what I was saying about this. So he was making this, the character, he's bringing Demon out. He showed me, he's like, hey, you got to check this out. No, clearly it's here. But he was like, you got to see this. I finally am going to get to have my own action figure. Because did we do something first with action figure? No, I had Enzo and
Cass and
Big Cass and Enzo.
But what I did, is that what you're getting?
Yeah, that's where this started.
Dale, save this story, Dale. Save this story.
So I'll pull it around. So the company, there's a company out of Tampa who makes these figures. They make Ring of Honor. They do all these Legends figures. Shane Douglas, myself, Conan, Psychosis. They've done a bunch of the ECW guys, and so they do this Legend series. So it's Figures Toy Company out of Tampa, but they also, part of the same family owns another company called MyFaceOnAFigure.com.
Okay,
and
that's
they do custom wrestling figures. If you send pictures in, they'll do a custom wrestling head on a wrestling body. They'll customize the outfit and everything.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I'm helping him with the story. So go ahead and hit the punchline.
And so I had my two characters I brought in, and he ended up bringing or telling me he was going to make you made it already, right?
Yeah,
that was the first one.
I was surprising you with something.
Yeah. He's like, well, first he was telling me about this, and he's like, I got something for you. You got to come check this out. So I went back there, and we were talking about the action figures and how he was getting his made. He's like, it's just crazy. I ended up getting one made. Check this one out. And he pulls it out, and it's me.
Oh, wow.
It's got my head on it and everything. And I still got it. I got that one. There's two. He ended up making me a second one, too, that was later.
Does the
first
really
one, I think
like
we took a... Well, yeah, the first one's kind of off a little bit. The second one's more like me. Yeah. Because he surprised me. He took a picture. You took a picture or something from something else.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we did an actual photo of my face and all that.
That's pretty epic, man.
And yeah, and then this is what he was showing me, how they were making it. And dude, the details and stuff that they do for this, when he was showing me the whole beginning, was unreal. Like, I'm talking, and if you see the action figure, and we're going to get one sent to you so you have it, it's detailed very, very well. Like, I'm talking the jacket, which that's another thing that we talked about getting, was the Gene Simmons jacket and or the Kiss jacket, correct? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we haven't got to do that part yet, because that's been a process.
Because the guy,
all that stuff with
the guy that was going to do the jackets for us ended up doing Gene's armor, made his whole costume for this tour.
Oh wow!
So we had to put it on hold, but that's why. But I'll tell you, the cool thing about this figure, a lot of figures now are done with real scan, where they scan someone's face.
Right.
And that's cool and everything. But this is identical. They sent me the picture. Remember I showed it to you?
I remember every bit of it.
Of the carving. There's a guy that is unbelievable. This guy, he goes by Danny Farrow. And I saw his stuff online, and I told this company, hey, you got to get this guy to sculpt the Kiss figures. This guy is unbelievable. And he does it all freehand. He sculpts everything. Niche. So mine was hand sculpted.
Yep.
And he took so much time because he wanted to make it right. And when you see it, it is me. It's not just a random face with face paint on. It's my face. I mean, this guy is the best sculptor I've ever seen.
That is insane. And is that what he does by trade? Like, he focuses, or does he do other sculpting outside of action figures as well?
Mainly action figures, but he's also a guitarist, and he's on tour with Punky Meadows from the band Angel from back in the day.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what a niche that is, though, to kind of find yourself in. Like, could you imagine? I mean, that's what you're doing every day is you're just doing little tiny action figure sculpting.
Well,
I mean, that's...
He's bought a bunch of his because Figures Toy Company has the KISS license, the Evel Knievel, but also DC Comics. So we are two Batman fanatics but mine's the 66 Batman.
Okay.
So I have a full size 6-foot replica of Adam West in my man cave.
Wow. And he's got the Adam West mask. And
yes, that I punched off his head.
Actually, so how this all kind of started too was obviously with the White Sox. I told you how we do like a crazy handshake that we had that we'd hit. It was basically wrestling reenacted. Like it was between me and Todd Frazier, and then whenever he was in town,
was that an emotional moment for you, Derek, just now?
Yeah, it was really hard because it was just one of those moments that I actually
I'm getting a little emotional because I feel like he's going to be super excited.
You're the only one that's left out. You haven't gotten emotional
he's going to be
yet.
stoked about y'all had this handshake. He's going to be stoked when he learns the secret handshake after the podcast.
But it was so on top of that. So we did this whole wrestling thing, and it got more enhanced when he was in town because obviously he's the wrestling legend. So we kept doing that, and then finally one day he was like, hey, come in here. I want to show you something. We got on this website. He was showing me the action figures. He was like, hey, you got to check these out. And we kind of went on a shopping spree of getting all these Batman action figures. And
well, you went on a shopping spree. You didn't buy me any.
Okay, so now somebody's salty,
wow.
and I have to go back and go get him some action figures.
Let's not go with how much money you owe me.
That's a lot, by the way. That's,
just hey,
quadruple digit.
We're going to go back to his story in a second, but he promised. This is an inside joke from us.
Okay.
So it's actually still ongoing. Too,
one of the, and I want you to start tallying this up.
Okay, I got you.
I will collect on him at some point.
Okay.
He's waiting for the next payday.
How many people do you know that have written movie scripts?
Well, I know one.
Who?
Is it Sean? Is that
Sean and me?
Yeah. Well,
right?
Okay, two people.
Okay.
Technically.
So one of the strength coaches that's with me, Sean Powell, who was my strength coach when I was with the Yankees, and I brought him in. The guy is talented. He's
hilarious.
He wrote the book, the most recent book with Darryl Strawberry, the addiction book.
Oh, wow.
He wrote a book that's on Amazon, Keys to the Batter's Box, about these Bat Boys in Birmingham, and it is absolutely one of the funniest books. That Paul Soder from Super Troopers came in and read it and said it was one of the funniest books he's ever read. He started it on the plane and didn't want the plane to land because he wanted to finish the book. That's how good it is. So we wrote a script. I wrote a script, or I came up with a concept for the script, and Sean, I told him what I thought, and he wrote it. And it's called Charles Atlas and the Sea Monkeys. It's about what would happen if all the stuff in the back of the comic book actually, the Hypno coin to the X-ray specs to all these different things that you could purchase in the back of the comic books back in the day, if it came to life, if you could actually use those things today. So we came up with this script about a kid being bullied when he was a kid that ordered this stuff, but it didn't. Long story short, it didn't work for him then because his dad took it from him. He never even got to use this stuff because he's mad that his son spent the money on this stuff. So bottom line, it works for him when he's in his 40s, and it's this kind of fantasy story. It's really funny. I give it to him, and he keeps telling me, I'm going to read it. One of the funniest guys, thinking this guy's going to love it, really excited for him to, this is a part of me that I created. And I thought, okay, he's going to read this thing. So one trip goes by and he doesn't read it. I come back into town. Like you said, I'm roving through town. And he's like, I'm going to read it. You know how he can get defensive at times?
Yeah.
I'm going to read it.
Thank you, dude. I am so happy he
gets mad. I go, all right, fine. He goes, hey, if I don't read it, I'm going to read it. If I don't read it by Wednesday, you can charge me $100 a day until I read it. That was over 2 years ago.
It was true. I did say that.
We're over $70,000 And he still hasn't read it.
Wow.
I haven't.
I've tried to give him tax breaks and saying I will take. I forget how many times I've said
He's chopped it down. He's like, well, we'll cut it down this time for this, whatever it was. If something came up, we do this. And all right, I dropped it down.
I said, I'll wipe it clean if you read it. If not, it goes right back. And he still hasn't read it. So keep track of this because we're at about 72,000 he owes me.
I mean, I feel like if we reset the clock right now, Dale, there's probably no chance that he's going to read it. Like just I don't, you need to get him the Audible, the audiobook version of it. So he can just play
I'm going to read it.
I will call him every night.
It just sounds so unbelievable hearing you say that right now. You're like, you're trying to convince me after Dale just told that story. It's like, probably not.
That's okay. It's not for everybody. I'm not going to convince you. It's fine. But I will say every time I talk to him on the phone,
that was the defensiveness right there, Dale. Did you hear the defensiveness in his voice right there?
I actually he knows when I get defensive. I really get into it a little bit. But he would call and he'd be like, hey, man, how's everything going? Hey, great season so far. You read that fucking script yet? You're at like 28,000. It's about the double.
I really thought if I threw like the actual number of like that 28,000, he'd be like, "Wow, that's really been adding up. I have not read this. Let me read this."
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, he is right.
So last night was actually funny because he played the 50-50 at the hockey game.
Yeah.
And it was like 80 grand.
No, 123,000.
Well, at that point it was 80. And I said to
you,
yeah,
that's right.
I go, if you win, you'll still walk away with 10.
That's great.
Because that lady looked and she was like, well, I'll take the other 10. I was like, no.
No, you won't.
I'm in debt here. I'm not in debt there.
Right.
He didn't win. Obviously, I still haven't seen my money.
Okay, quick question, though. We kind of talked about movie scripts for a second, and I did do a little Googling about you earlier today, Dale, and you do have some interesting movie appearances under your belt. What are those?
Well, it's actually one appearance was in The Transporter 2.
Saw that one.
I did not know that, actually.
Yeah.
That's one. When I looked at the script that he wrote here, I actually had no clue about that one.
You literally blink. It's like that. Darn it.
There's Dale. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
You have to freeze frame it.
So wait, do you think I had more time in Dumb and Dumber 2 than
here
you did
we
in
go.
Transporter 2?
Here we
no,
go.
I want to throw this out there.
This was about Dale, and now it's about you.
I don't remember you
here
in Dumb and Dumber 2.
It's not though. It's the one with the actual characters again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at the very beginning.
Where?
But I was looking for like 5 seconds. Like you can actually see me.
This is Dale humbling you right now.
I know. He's doing a really good job. The funny thing is his facial expressions are selling it even more because it's like he's pissed off that I, first of all, interrupted his movie quality time.
You really interrupted our podcast. Dale and I started a podcast a little while ago, and you're kind of been interrupting it for like the last, 10 minutes. So.
Okay, bye. So, all right, continue. Go ahead. Sorry. What's the other? I know one movie that stands out because me and you actually talked about it in the dugout.
Which one?
A League of Their Own.
What about it?
Okay, never mind.
It's about as classic of a baseball movie as you can get.
Yeah, that was actually pretty cool. So this is kind of a cool thing is where random things happen. So the girl that cries in that movie, right? The no crying in baseball girl.
Yes. Is that Gina Davis?
No, that's Biddy Schramm. Her name is Biddy Schramm.
Okay.
What a name, by the way.
Elizabeth was her. Elizabeth, and they called her Biddy. Her brother was, when I was little, was my best friend. Growing up, I broke my foot jumping off their stairs when I was little. And so she played on my brother's Little League team. And she's the reason why it kind of happened that I saw her. They were filming a scene at the White Sox Stadium back in the day. It was Old Comiskey back then, or New Comiskey, which is former name of it. They were filming a scene there, and the White Sox were on the road, and I was lifting there, and I needed to get the key to the weight room, and the guy that actually had the key was out on the field, and they said out in the field with the movie, and I'm like, all right. So I went out, and I saw her on the field, and I'm like, Biddy, and then we start talking, and she said, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm at Northwestern, but it was the summer. And I'm playing baseball, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, can you come? We're training at IIT's baseball field, which is just about a mile from the stadium. And so I would go and train with them. They would do all the baseball workouts right at that field. No one even knew it was them. You know, here's Madonna, Gina Davis, and no security, no nothing, because people didn't know. And so we would train there at, pretty much every day. Well, probably 5 days a week there. And then Madonna, after I had worked with Gina Davis for a while, Madonna actually asked me if I would work with her. She saw what I was doing to help Gina Davis. And so I ended up, every off day, Madonna and I would go to Lincoln Park, and we would train for a couple hours on our own. She wanted to get that good.
That's just a crazy way to start off a story. Madonna and I.
Yes. Yeah. That's definitely not a normal.
You know what's a
weird
weird coincidence? I mean, it's not that weird compared to all the coincidences you've had. But
don't you tell me someone else has a Madonna story of the six people that have been on here before.
My girlfriend, her name is Gina Davis, just spelled slightly different. So
really?
Yeah, when I was reading, I was like, that's kind of weird.
But she was cool though. They were both really cool. Like I literally had to get on the ground and I showed Madonna how to slide. So
you're doing like the whole technique. I thought it was just play catch.
No, hitting. I threw batting practice to her, threw her fly balls, ground balls, taught her how to slide, everything, because she had that big sliding scene where they set the camera up. They actually had me at one point. They had a big jersey from the Peaches or the Rock, whatever. Forget what Gina Davis, her team jersey. They couldn't get a throw down. They had the camera set up behind. They couldn't get a throw all the way to second. It was at Wrigley. And they said, "Can you throw?" And I said, "Yes." They put me in the jersey to see if they could. They're like, "You know what? It doesn't look right." Because I was throwing, but it didn't look enough like they were just showing my shoulder and arm. And they said, "We can't use it. It just doesn't look like her throwing." But they had me.
Here's this man hand coming through the zone, and then like 2 seconds after it happens, we got this little baby hand finishing it.
It's like the Seinfeld man hands episode.
Got massive hands, and women have, for the most part, smaller hands. So it kind of.
But you said baby hands.
Yeah,
for the women, not for you.
Listen,
don't get your feelings hurt right now.
I'm not.
Somebody's worried about his hand size.
Highly inappropriate.
I was just wondering if you had seen the movie, if you thought that toddlers were playing this game.
Yeah, I thought it was the Rugrats out there.
That's about more your speed, youngster.
Thank you.
Okay, so you're in a league around with Madonna and Gina Davis. And then you've got Transporter 2, and then the other one I saw was Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That one was really just helping. Tom Selleck came to Comiskey, actually old Comiskey at the time. So when he came to the field, he was really cool. Big dude. I didn't realize how big Selleck was. But so he was playing first base. I actually gave him my first baseman's glove for the movie. But I tried to work with him on first base stuff around the bag and all that. And he was really cool that after the movie came out, it just showed up. He had sent me a signed card, a thank you note saying, to Dale, thanks for everything. Really appreciate it. Tom Selleck. But he also sent me a belt buckle that said Mr. I think it said Mr. Besa Baru, like on the actual belt buckle. So I've got that up sitting in my my man cave. It was really just a really nice thing to do that he said, son, thanks for the help or whatever. It's just a really cool thing. So that's in my man cave.
Man, you definitely
are there any other ones that didn't make it onto the Wikipedia page that I'm missing here?
I mean, movie things? No, I don't think so. I might think about it later.
What about any television? Commercials?
Just commercials. I did some commercial things.
God, I want to see those.
I have them.
Those were in black and white, by the way.
Oh, really? Go play with your Rugrats, will you?
Was that a Charlie Chaplin co-starring Charlie Chaplin mime?
Are you chiming in too?
No. I was asking Derek, sir.
No, not me.
No, sir.
Sorry, Dale. No, I think that's cool. You just hearing the whole stories of everything. doing a lot. And then on top of that, we have to talk about the cell phone company.
Okay, and I have no idea about this, so this is news to me. This was added by Derek, and so I'm very interested to know
So
about
I
this.
did do something, is what you're saying.
This is the one thing
something in
Derek
there.
contributed to the show besides his made up facts on the spot.
Yeah.
Well, they work, don't they?
Sort of.
90% of the time.
The fact checkers are going to check on those. No, but it's actually pretty cool. I've been a part owner in an actual mobile company for, I think, 3 years now, which is called MadStar Mobile. But myself and the guy that started MadStar, he's behind it, but I'm starting with him a new one called, ready?
Yep.
Country Mobile.
Country Mobile.
Yes. So it's we've got the country covered. So
Like
it's
a blanket.
Yeah. So Country Mobile it's actually probably going to be launching in a month or two. And we have a different, I can't really talk too much about it, but a different marketing strategy than you've seen before. And it will have a lot of things different, offering. I can't really say a whole lot.
No, we understand.
The marketing side. The marketing
Now,
side
is this national? These
yeah.
companies?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We have 40,000 cell towers. So we're on the same towers as Verizon and Sprint, and so the coverage that Verizon would have, we have that same coverage. It's the same cell towers.
Now, how can somebody go about this?
About what?
Getting involved into this, not getting in or getting set up.
Derek wants to know how you could become a subscriber to your cell phone company's phone plan.
MadStar Mobile is up and running, and that's you can go to madstarmobile.com. But when the time is right, it will be countrymobile.com, and you go on, and it's going to be. Right now, I think it's $33 a month, unlimited everything.
Wow.
And it doesn't change once you get locked in. It doesn't fluctuate like how cell phone companies. One, you might have your bill's like $100, and then the next month it's $150, and ours.
Do your
stays the
data
same.
speeds go up and down?
You can actually your data speeds will go if you buy a higher package. The 33 is great data speeds, but you can actually upgrade your data speeds with a little bit more money.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah.
pretty cool,
freaking
man.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
is there an Instagram, or I guess what's the website to go sign up?
It isn't up yet. I mean, it hopefully by the time this airs, I'll see if we can get the website up and running. It's a little premature, but madstarmobile.com is up and running.
Right.
But
It's Country
the
Mobile is
Country
what's
Mobile-
coming.
is there-
The Country Mobile's launching probably next month.
Okay, but is there any like social media to it?
There will be, not
Okay,
yet.
nothing yet.
So
Okay.
we're a little premature on this part of it, but
That's something we can still share. down the road
That's
anyway.
pretty
It's
cool
not-
though, man. I mean,
Maybe
it's
we'll
just
be a
another
sponsor of this
another
at some
chapter in
point.
your
Maybe.
book here.
yeah, it's pretty cool. He's the guy who owns it, David Pearsall. He's owned sports teams before, and Bama Fight League overseas. He still owns that. He had owned the Orlando Predators, and just a very, very bright guy. And so we're doing some cool things. And I didn't know anything about cell phones and all that, but learning how the mobile structure works and the different towers that you have, and because you'll see it, people don't the CDMA or GSM towers that you'll see like on. You won't know the difference, but if you go into Best Buy, they'll ask you the different who do you have and all that. That's the difference. And so we're on the same network as like I said, of Verizon and Sprint. And I've had it for years, and
Which I
people
think
go,
that would make
I
you a
travel a lot,
CDMA,
and-
right?
Huh? What's that?
That would make you a CDMA provider,
Correct.
right?
Yep. Yeah. But I've had it for years, and people go, "Oh, I travel a lot." I'm like, "You don't travel any more than I do," and I have great service everywhere I go.
So that's pretty freaking outstanding.
Yeah.
Now I want to add one thing.
Okay.
Because I meant to say this earlier, and it still has to go back to wrestling. You see a lot of these superstars coming back. Hollywood, Hulk Hogan is coming back. You saw Goldberg, and you saw multiple guys. Is there any way that, or has WWE actually contacted Demon? Is there a chance that you think that we could possibly see a Demon return? Because, I mean, you see, Nature Boy, all
I mean,
that come
after
out.
this podcast, anything's possible.
Right. Yeah.
After this podcast, I have no shot at all ever doing anything again.
Oh, wow. Okay. So there you go. We just ruined the man's career. You heard it here first and last.
Talk about sacrifice, Dale. Coming on the show to sacrifice your career, man. That's incredible.
I'll do that for him. No, there has been at different times. I just started because of the action figure coming out. I just started doing Comic Cons and things of that nature. And I think it's the Demon character is almost at a time now where it's nostalgic. It's nothing current to it. But I think for me to come back, it would be more of a nostalgia thing. So there have been there talks about different things before, but there's always has to be the agreement with Kiss because it's not just me.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that has to be in there no matter how you look at it. But have there been talks about it? Yes, there have been. Over time, different things have been said, and we've talked about it. It hasn't been the right time with me. I'm busy throughout the year. It hasn't really been the right time, but doesn't mean you never say never. What
about you? Let's say we got everybody cleared. Everybody was in. They want to do it. Would you, what's your thoughts on doing it? What do you...
Like another full run or just like a match?
No, not necessarily a full run. Just kind of what some of these guys...
They bring you out for a Royal Rumble, match or two.
Like a
look
Battle
at
Royal or something type of thing.
Yeah, you could do something like that. Or look at how Goldberg did. He came out for a little bit, did it a few matches. He ended up winning a title though, but I'm just saying it's more of hey, make that appearance, come back in there just to kind of hype it back up.
I think it would be an appearance. I don't think anybody would. This is just my opinion. I was nowhere near the Goldberg status. I don't think people would want to see me come back for. I think it would, like I said, I think it would be more of a nostalgia thing. Oh, here he is, cool. Okay,
take him out.
Yeah, see you later.
See, I didn't. I
don't know. I don't know. I don't know how it would be received, and would I be willing to do something like that? I think if the timing was right, yeah.
Well, what's the reception at the Comic-Con's been?
It actually was great. I mean, we sold a ton of figures, and it was great. And there were a bunch of the wrestling ones that reached out to me. I just couldn't do it. The time I was traveling, even in the off season, I have to go see players and that kind of thing, and went to the Dominican Republic. We had a mini camp there, and so I had to turn them down because of the timing of it. So I don't know how the wrestling reception would be. I don't know. It would be interesting to see how. I mean, we did that cool thing with TNA with AJ, but I wasn't doing the Demon thing. That went over well. So who knows? Who knows? You never know.
I will say, because we've got some extras here, I do want to give a couple of them away. We'll have to think of something that had happened in this podcast.
Yeah, we can do a little contest on the Instagram.
You did. I would like to say, I'm trying to think of what we could use with it, but I think that this is something I definitely want to promote this as well for you. You've always been so great to me too. You've done a lot helping me out as well with my career and all that. And first time meeting T, jumping on our podcast was huge. The thing that's crazy, and this is back-to-back episodes of, it was not only you, but the guy before, we had stuff scripted. You saw what we were going to go over for today.
And let's go ahead and just, for the record, it's not a script. It's just notes. We're not scripted here.
Whatever. The notes. As I got to always be corrected.
No, it's not be corrected, but I don't want people sitting here thinking we're scripted.
Still serve a purpose.
I don't want people to think we're reading off a script here.
Well, we've got, the whole notes. Okay. This is back-to-back times that we've had two great guests that we don't even get to go to the trending topics. That's how good this was with you. And you even said it beforehand. We're going to have a great show. We're going to be able to talk. I can go. I can just ramble. I hope you guys are ready. Honestly, me personally, I was blown away. I'm sure, he was too. The stories that you told us, there's nothing like that. We don't get that experience. The closest I've got is playing baseball. He has his thing going too. And it's, with his hat company, which you can't see right now, that's part of it. That's his, we don't have that same thrill that you had. Like, there's nothing like, to me, and I hope it inspires more people that are listening to watch wrestling again and get back into it, because it's one of the longest living soap operas. If you really think about it, it's competing against like a Days of Our Lives kind of thing. Obviously better.
Longest episodic TV program in history, right?
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. And to hear the background from someone who's actually done it all and been a part of it changes everything. And I hope that it inspires other people too, to now, you know what? I've heard a lot from Demon. I learned a lot about it. I need to watch it, and they'll pay attention to those details and they'll get to see it. So for that, from me, thank you. Like, from the bottom of my heart, obviously, as a friend, a brother, and a father to me, thank you for coming on the show. Yeah.
No, this has been an incredible episode, man. I mean, it's been, I think this has got a ton of just awesome content in it. And just like Derek was saying, your stories, man, are, second to none. It's like and I'm sure you have a ton more that you could just talk about that didn't even make the show. But I think it's one of those things for
the stories.
Right. Well, I just think it's one of those things, though, for people that, whether you're a baseball fan or you're a wrestling fan, or just, we're talking about Madonna here, okay? Like, you definitely can find some familiarity with some of the stuff you shared with us today. So I know Derek was trying to make you cry with how he was signing off on the show, but I do appreciate you coming on. And I can't wait for everyone to get to hear this episode. So this is, I think this is kind of wrapping up episode number 6, if I'm not mistaken. Dutch.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to bring him back again. Obviously, there's so much more that we can hear from him too. There was a story that I wish we would have got to that we definitely need to bring back, is him wrestling with the weapons and having a wrestler use it upside down. Mm-hmm. So again, that's something that we can see in the future. Can't share it now. I know he's got all kinds of stories.
When the next one comes out, we got another. There's another figure coming out. I think in May. It's same Figures Toy Company, and then Amazon. They're both. It's on there. But so there's going to be another one with some cool features that are completely different than this. So it's a variant figure with a lot of cool new features that should be out in May. So
okay, well then we'll have to have you back on then, and then do another contest giveaway.
We'll get in for sure. But also in the meantime, please check out the toy. Where can we get this at? The action figure.
It's figurestoycompany.com, and then Amazon. You look up Demon Legends wrestling figure.
You heard it right there from the Demon himself. Thank you again for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We appreciate it. And that's a wrap from the Dutch Oven. So, okay, bye.
And that's a wrap.